That's a firm challenge on him from Thomason, but he's able to keep his feet and the ball. Neto just outside the box. He goes square to Badiashile, to Adarabioyo, who goes to Badiashile. Now back again to Neto, gets the ball under control, then he runs again at Thomason, then the shot from the edge of the penalty area from Asugo, which was dragged well wide. And it is a goal kick to Wrexham, and it remains 2-2 here on 5 Live in the FA Cup. As for the Scottish Cup latest, Kenny Crawford.
Wow, this quarter final is going in the way of Championship side Dunfermline Athletic. They're now 2-0 up on Aberdeen. It's Ollie Thomas, the 20-year-old striker on loan from Bristol City. His first shot was blocked, he got a second bite of the cherry, and it was a low finish past Mitov. Dunfermline 2, Aberdeen 0.
So great opening to that match for Neil Lennon and Dunfermline, as Neto breaks away from the halfway line, but O'Brien puts in the challenge to knock it out of play for a Chelsea throw down the right. They're playing from left to right as we look from the side opposite to where the dugouts are. And Gusto to Santos, then Cucurella. It already feels that this is going to be a huge ask for Wrexham. Garnacho now playing the ball along the edge of the penalty area, then the placed shot from, probably given the angle, 23 yards from Santos, but straight at Okonkwo, who was able to make a routine save.
Yeah, there were 3 opportunities, Chelsea, this first half of extra time, and all of them really have been tame. Chelsea dominating the ball. It's going to be attack B defence, and Wrexham is just about hanging on in there, but it's important when they try and get the ball forward to Kiefer Moore that somebody just tries to get in touch with him and tries to get a knockdown, because Wrexham just cannot get up the pitch.
No, they can't. As Chelsea with Gusto, Neto's going to curl it into the back post, comes off the head of the Wrexham defender. Garnacho in the box, he works it across, and then the shot from Guillaume, can't force it over the line. He shot straight at Okonkwo, who was able to make a very secure save on the line, actually.
Yeah, he gathered it really well, Okonkwo, but Guillaume, he must be 6 yards out, has got to hammer that into the back of the net. I mean, it's all Chelsea. This will be one hell of an opportunity wasted if Chelsea don't win this game from here on in.
And on the other side of the coin, if Wrexham find a way through this, well, this is going to be a famous cup win. And I would hesitate to say that they're playing for penalties, even though this is a back foot operation now, because of the players that they've got who could potentially cause problems on the break. And they've brought on Barnett to play on the right-hand side now, and he has pace, although he's defending at the moment against Garnacho. And then it's stabbed back to Cucurella, edge of the area. Cucurella plays it back to Andre Santos. Then it comes into the middle to Asugo. Now out to the right to Neto. Neto thought about crossing, actually plays it back. Asugo curls it in. Garnacho's at the back post, and he turns it in, but the goal is given. The goal is given. It hit the bottom of the goal and came straight back out. It was a strange one, that. It actually was brilliantly finished, cleanly finished by Garnacho. It hit the base of the back of the goal and came straight back out. And I think the racecourse ground was a little stunned there. No one knew quite what had happened. What's happened is Garnacho has scored and Chelsea ahead for the first time on the night. Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's what fooled everyone, John, isn't it? The connection with the base of the goal. And it came straight back out again really quickly. It didn't nestle in the back of the net. It's a tidy finish, Garnacho. He shouldn't be missing. I mean, the first part of extra time, they have dominated the ball and they've had many tame efforts, but the ball just helped to the back post. Garnacho ghosted in. It was all about the connection. Right-footed cushion volley, 6 yards out into the back of the net. It's hard to see Wrexham getting back in it now.
Yeah, they had to hold out. They simply had to hold out. And Chelsea scoring in the 7th minute of extra time. Ball's played forward for Barnett to chase, but Adarabioyo was able to get there and put it out for a Wrexham throw. That's a very odd one, the way that Garnacho goal was scored. Windass plays it through to Moore. Wrexham on the attack, but the cross from Moore is taken down. And I can tell you right now, listeners to BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra are leaving us here at the racecourse ground, and they will now be able to hear Ian Dennis with Rachel Coursey at St James's Park for Newcastle against Manchester City. So off they go on Sports Extra and on 5 Live. Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3 to the conclusion, and then we will pick up after that at St James's Park with Ian and Rachel for the Newcastle Manchester City match.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stadium were stunned that the goal. Well, I say the goal was given, but I don't know how many. I mean, you should be an expert at stuff like this, John. I can't remember seeing many goals actually like Wrexham have them, with the metal base around the side.
I was just going to say the same thing. Normally it's loose netting at the bottom of the goal, but that's not the case here now. There's a sort of thick white, what would you call that, border. It's like a goal lying on its back, isn't it, in the net? And it hit the bottom of that and came straight back out. And actually, on our delayed pictures here, we're now just seeing the replay of the Garnacho goal. It is a very odd one. It actually takes me a long way back. Do you remember the stanchions there used to be in the back of the goals? Yeah. So there were metal struts in the back of the goal. And actually it got to the stage where that caused problems, because on occasions goals would hit those stanchions in the back of the net, bounce out. And there were a couple of famous occasions, Clive Allen I think was involved in one of them, where he scored but the goal wasn't given. Do you remember that?
I can't remember the Clive Allen goal, but yeah, I can remember those stanchions,
And with Chelsea leading by 3-2, Liam Rossigna is making a change, but I'm just going to see this replay again because I'm anxious to see what happens.
I mean,
that is a really odd one, isn't it? He struck it brilliantly, it pings into the net and then straight back out. And for a little while there, it wasn't clear that the ball had actually gone into the net. But it did. Garnacho scores. It's 3-2 to Chelsea. And young Jesse Derry has come on to replace Pedro Neto, with Chelsea in front in the tie for the first time. It's not over yet, though. It's Wrexham break forward. Moore's in the middle. Keeper Moore moves behind him and he couldn't turn, he couldn't adjust, he couldn't take the ball under control, as the pass came from Barnett on the right, and now Thomason has got himself into trouble with with Derry, who's just come onto the field. Thomason, this is the man who received all of those yellow cards in his time at Bolton, and Derry has stayed on the ground. The referee Banks is in the middle of all of this. I must say Thomason does look a little sheepish here. I'm not sure that was a very good challenge on Derry. It's going to be at least a yellow card. Wrexham are already down to 10 men in this match. Thomason is chatting away to referee Banks, and it is just a yellow.
Yeah, he is. Thomason is super aggressive there with Derry. Clearly catches him. That's a little handshake there, but that's a challenge born out of frustration from Thomason.
And Derry actually, as they walk back towards the halfway line, Jesse Derry gives him a slap on the back. Former Crystal Palace youngster and famously son of Sean Derry, Jesse Derry. And this is only his second appearance for Chelsea after coming on as a substitute in the previous round at Hull. He's got bleached blonde hair, and he's being ridiculed now by the Wrexham fans because he tried to flick the ball forward and he flicked it straight out of play for a Wrexham throw.
Although I do remember Sean Derry used to like a challenge.
He was combative.
Yes, he was.
I think if it was Sean Derry up against George Thomason, I think that might not have ended with a pat on the back. Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3. They're underway at St James's Park. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. That could go the distance as well, couldn't it, tonight? There is the possibility of them playing each other in the Champions League a little further down the line. Be a two-leg tie, that. Here is Derry. Derry on the right, into the full-back position for Chelsea, searching for the fourth goal that would finish it off, send Wrexham out and send Chelsea through. Gusto curls it all the way over towards Garnacho. who doubtless will continue to be booed. It was Garnacho who was involved in the incident that led to the sending off of George Dobson. That was crucial in the match, wasn't it? The decision. VAR called the referee over. Dobson was sent off. And with the 10 men, Chelsea are now in charge, Chris, aren't they?
Yeah, and you know, with the 10 men, it was about hanging on in there and just trying to keep Chelsea out. I mean, Wrexham, since they've gone down, haven't really been able to get bodies forward in support of more. They're just playing a keep ball now, Chelsea. But you would have expected the Premier League quality, that the players coming off the bench to really make the difference for Chelsea, and they have done.
Already Liverpool going through last night, you might have heard that, with Conor McNamara at Molineux. So Liverpool through, Arsenal through, Chelsea at the moment going through, and either Newcastle or Manchester City will be through later. That's quite a heavyweight lineup, isn't it? João Pedro, Gusto, just on the edge of the Wrexham penalty area, but it breaks down, and Broadhead carries the ball away. Windass. They are sending players forward, Wrexham. I mean, Barnett, who's just come on, as soon as they had possession there, Barnett burst forward to join Kiefer Moore, but they couldn't find the pass forward, and they're in a little bit of a conundrum here, Wrexham now. 3-2 down. At what point do they have to go for it, and can they go for it? Here is Thomason, though, who receives it, the left wing back. Thomason up against Gusto, then Derry comes in with a challenge and just is able to whip the ball away. And João Pedro says, give it to me, in the central third of the field, and Chelsea assume control again.
Yeah, good recovery runs from the Chelsea players, and yeah, I think from Wrexham's point of view, it's about sort of hanging on in there, and if they can win a set piece, load the box, get bodies forward, they'll just be looking. Phil Parkinson will be thinking, just try and keep it to one goal, and if we can create just one half chance, it's whether we can take it or not. But Chelsea now, in terms of the football match, are in total control. It's going to be about moments for Wrexham.
Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3, here on 5 Live, with Newcastle, Manchester City currently on Sports Extra. 3 minutes of added time will be played at the end of this first period of extra time. So at the moment, Alejandro Garnacho's goal is making the difference. Remember, he has scored in the FA Cup final in a winning day for Manchester United in the final a couple of years ago now, Eric Ten Hag's side. As the ball is played through nicely by João Pedro for Cucurella in the box, defenders are there. Cucurella goes down, might have stood on the ball, and Wrexham are able to clear it away out of play near the halfway line.
Good ball from João Pedro through to Cucurella. Why didn't he get a shot off there? Came back, it was on his left foot, just put your foot through it. I think from Wrexham's point of view, certainly in the second half of extra time, John, he's got to go to a back 4-3-2, play 2 up and just go long into Kiefer Moore, try and get a knockdown or 2.
Yeah, final moments of the first period of extra time. Windass just clips João Pedro, who goes down. I think the home fans now finding this rather frustrating. Over 1,000 Chelsea fans, and just see them to our right in this stand, many of them on their feet, clapping their hands. And a free kick for Chelsea. Garnacho is interested in this as well, having already scored his first goal in 10 appearances. And one of the fascinating facts, Chris, about that goal that he scored in the cup final was that he was only the second Argentine international to score in the FA Cup final. Very, very famous.
Yeah, no, I've got it.
Yes.
Don't want to spoil it for the listeners.
Spoil it for everyone. But really, if you're listening and you know your football, you really should know that. Garnacho to take this. Steps back. Free kick from 23, 24 yards out, given the angle. Garnacho shoots over the wall, and it flies away over the top of the crossbar, but I think maybe just took the fingertips of Okonkwo on its way over, so it's going to be a corner for Chelsea. And Garnacho, only the second Argentine international after Ricky Villa, to score in an FA Cup final. Well,
did you give the listeners long enough?
Yeah, I did give them long enough. To be honest, should get that instantly. Garnacho will take this, right-footed. Into the near post it goes. That's headed up and away by Cleworth for Wrexham. Only back to Garnacho. He's going to go for goal. Right across goal. Rattling about on the edge of the 6-yard box. And in the end, it fell fortunately to Wrexham's defenders, who pass it forward. Barnett is off. Barnett running free now. Wrexham not finished yet. Moore inside the box, but Gusto is there to step into his path. The ball deflects out for a throw, and referee Banks says that's it for the first period of extra time. There will not be a throw-in in a decent position for Wrexham. 3-2 Chelsea lead after what might well be the deciding goal from Garnacho in the first period of the extra 30 minutes.
Yeah, Chelsea in total control. As we expected, it looks a tired Wrexham team, but they're still hanging on in there. Can they conjure up something in this second half of extra time? It looks a long shot, doesn't it? But you never know. They've still got to believe.
Right. So it is Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3 in half-time at extra time. Players just getting turned around here, so let's make another visit to Kenny Crawford, who will tell us what the score is, and also if you are indeed overlooking the graveyard.
Yes, I am overlooking the graveyard, and at the moment it's Aberdeen's cup hopes which are dead and buried at the moment, John, because they're trailing Dunfermline Athletic by 2-0. The Championship side have looked like the Premiership side so far. 2 goals from Matty Todd and Ollie Thomas, and Aberdeen 9th in the Premiership, really looking to the Scottish Cup to keep their season alive. If they go out tonight, the holders, there really will be a lot of bad feeling amongst the Dons, who haven't even got a permanent manager at the moment after sacking Jimmy Tillene back in early January. So Dunfermline Athletic 2, Aberdeen 0 with 37 minutes on the clock.
Thank you very much, Kenny, for all of that information. Callum Doyle is coming off at half-time for Wrexham, who has scored tonight, played very well again tonight, and Dan Scarr is going to replace him in the Wrexham back line. At St James's Park it is Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0 after 10 minutes of that match. Overnight tonight, commentary on the Australian Grand Prix from 3:30 in the morning on 5 Live, but also we will be playing that again from 8:30 on Sports Extra 2 in the morning. So if you wake up, you don't know what's happened, you can actually listen to it as live from 8:30 on Sports Extra 2. And in actual fact, it is not Dan Scarr who's coming on, it's Lewis Brunt. So whether that's a change of plan or whether that was an administrative error, I'm not sure. But Lewis Brunt comes on to replace Doyle. Right, 15 minutes to play. Wrexham, if they get out of this, well, it'll be a famous 15 minutes. They're 3-2 down. It's 10 against 11 after George Dobson was sent off, and Wrexham have just got to keep it secure at the back and hope they get a chance that they will probably have to take. They might only get one chance. They might not even get a chance, Chris.
No, and that's why I still think for the first half of this second half of extra time that they still have to play with a bit of balance and then just go for it. And if they end up losing 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, then they may as well go out swinging.
Yeah, but I think that's likely to happen, given the changes that Phil Parkinson has made. Given the manager that he is, give it a go. Chelsea twice behind, but 1-0 down with 2-1 down. But that sending off of Dobson, I think, really changed the match right at the end of the 90 minutes into added time, and Chelsea in control now. But rather like Arsenal earlier, it has been quite uncomfortable at times for the big guns. Sanchez passing it out from the back to Badiashile. But given the fact that Arsenal and Liverpool are through in the quarter-finals, a couple of them are going to play each other, aren't they? Ball is hit forward over the top of Derry, who can't reach that, and it's a throw into Exeter. Tomorrow, Port Vale Sunderland, Fulham Southampton and Leeds Norwich. Then Monday night, it is West Ham against Brentford. All of those matches either on 5 Live or Sports Extra for you to listen to. It's back with Dom Hyam, who passes the ball to Okonkwo, who just got it away. It actually flicked off Guiu as he cleared it. Comes back to the goalkeeper, long and downfield.
What slightly concerns me about Wrexham is if they're going to go long into Kiefer Moore, they need to get bodies in and around him, and he's too isolated at this moment in time. I think they have to be braver on the ball.
Yeah, well, that's what Windass and Broadhead naturally do, but at the moment they're having to be part of a defensive operation, because it is Garnacho being booed because he was involved in the Dobson tackle that led to the Wrexham midfielder being sent off, and of course has scored the goal that might make the difference. Still Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. Forward to Gusto, then back to Esugo, making his first appearance of the season, the young Portuguese who did play for Chelsea in the Club World Cup at the end of last season. Here is the teenager Derry, socks right down for Derry. I've rarely seen a player play with socks so far down.
He's gone Jack Grealish there, hasn't he?
He's gone Grealish and a bit more. Badiashile with his left foot will play it out towards the far side, and Derry does take that down quite nicely. Orange boots, a little flick, a little trick. Derry gets it back, his cross, that's blocked, comes back for Gusto, and then an exchange into the area, but then it was overrun by Gusto into the box and all the way through to Okonkwo. Already 3 minutes of the final 15 of extra time have been played. 3-2 Chelsea lead, still 0-0 at St James's Park. Wrexham up towards Moore. Moore turns it off nicely. Broadhead now takes it in his stride. They might have a chance to put Chelsea under pressure. Barnett receives it on the right wing. Barnett's cross over towards the back post inside the area. Moore's gone down after a tangle with a defender. He was looking at the referee, and player's been stopped. He's brought it back for the free kick in the D for Wrexham for that challenge on Moore.
Well, I mean, what an opportunity this is for Wrexham. And I mentioned what Wrexham did brilliantly there. They played out from the back, played from one end of the pitch to the other. They didn't just punt it forward into Moore, who has been isolated. And that bravery has led to this opportunity. And this may be the last chance Wrexham get, but from one end to the other. And it looks like Josh Windass?
Oh, Josh Windass. His body language from the very moment that Peter Banks gave that free kick, Josh Windass's body language was, I fancy this. Straight to the ball, picked it up, bounced it, actually dropped it, had to then walk across, pick it up again. He's got the ball in the D. Chelsea have got a wall of 4. They've got Garnacho lying down behind it as well. And
Andre Santos yellow.
Andre Santos was lurking around. He didn't retreat the 10 yards, so Andre Santos is yellow carded, but it is Windass to take this. He doesn't lack in confidence. The question is whether they do tap it, which might be a possibility, because Broadhead is standing just to the right of the ball, but Windass, hands on his hips, just waiting for the referee's whistle. There it is. He does tap it, then gets it back, but curls it up and over the top right corner. Snatched at him as the Chelsea wall broke and ran at him.
I may be wrong here after him, John, but I think Broadhead, he should have stopped the ball for Windass to come onto it, and he rolled it back towards him, which I don't think was necessarily favourable. I think Windass would want that ball stopped so he can just stride onto it and then hit the ball where he wants to hit it. That's a chance wasted for Wrexham.
Yeah, to create the angle round the wall.
Yeah.
So he's actually knocked it back.
that's a hard one.
You've created the angle, but then you've snuffed it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's basic from Broadhead.
Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3. Still Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. Late night FA Cup action. I hope it doesn't go too late, because the car park where I've put my car does close at 10 o'clock this evening, and it should be fine. 8:15.
I think Wrexham must have a fair few B&Bs. John, you could maybe...
in this beautiful part of the world, of course they will. Wrexham are going to make what must be, because they do have an extra change to make in added time, but that's Max Cleworth who is being withdrawn, and Davis Keeler-Dunn is coming on, so one of the men at the back off, Chris, as he suggested they would have to do at some point. And Davis Keeler-Dunn, who scored all those goals for Barnsley last season, comes onto the field to play up front and perhaps give Moore some support. Number 7 is in the penalty area. Moore is onto this, and then Broadhead is challenged and it rims out of play for a throw-in, which is taken quickly by Thomason down into the full-back position. And Keeler-Dunn waiting on the edge of the box, comes back to Thomason. Thomason works it into the box. Keeler-Dunn, edge of the area with his back to goal, plays it back towards the left-hand side where O'Brien passes it forward. Then the cross comes in deep to the back post. Moore with a header, but he couldn't force it on target. Defender was there with him as well. In fact, got a final touch off the defender on the way wide. And it's behind for a corner to Wrexham. But to Newcastle, Ian Dennis.
Newcastle so much of the ball.
Thank you, John. Newcastle United have just taken the lead through Harvey Barnes. Tonali's early ball, and there was Tonali who found Barnes, and Barnes just steadied himself and right-footed in front of the Leesy's end, put the ball past Trafford. 1-0 to Newcastle.
Thank you, Ian. Ian with the commentary. Here's the corner for Wrexham. A little flick by Moore. It's in! It's headed in at the back post. It's 3-3, and the goal is scored by Lewis Brunt, who's just come onto the field. It might be his first touch. Delivered in, a little flick from Moore, and then Brunt arriving, and Wrexham have taken their chance. There might be penalties yet. Wrexham 3, Chelsea 3.
Well, what an evening, and you just can't, teams can't cope with Keeper Moore. The ball's floated in at the near post, he gets up brilliantly. I don't know whether he was heading in anyway, but Lewis Brunt wasn't taking any chances. At the back post, ghosts in, pops it in. We said Wrexham wouldn't give up, and they got their opportunity from a corner. They've taken it now. Can they hang on? Can they go on and get a winner?
Yes, there is that possibility as well. Although the restart is being delayed, which means VAR are looking at this. This will be an absolute heartbreaker if this is ruled out. I suppose the question will probably be, was he in an offside position? Brunt at the back post, Moore flicked it on. Brunt was arriving, and this is taking some little while. Of course it is. And Wrexham supporters not fully behind VAR. And I think that might be offside. We're just seeing the replay, and Brunt might have had a foot offside.
Yeah, it's more at the near post, and whether the ball's going in or not, I think it's actually hitting the post, so Brunt pops it in.
The goal, oh no, hang on, no, it's being played back. The goal's been ruled out. It's been ruled out. Oh, that is agony for Wrexham. That is agony. But it's not a toenail, you know, that is a full foot, isn't it, from the view that we've got there.
I mean, is that you could argue it's a brilliant Chelsea line, or have they just got lucky? I think they've got very lucky there, and that's so unfortunate for Wrexham, and Chelsea get away with one.
And Lewis Brunt's goal is ruled out, and it is back to Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3, and you can just feel the deflation around the stadium here. So, Chelsea, that is a let-off. Offside flag goes up against Keeler-Dunn, and it's a free kick to Chelsea halfway inside their own half. And what have we got? We've got 4 minutes left, Chris, and Phil Parkinson has done everything that he can do in terms of the changes that he's made, you know, the balance that he's tried to find here. They thought they'd found a way through to make it 3-3, and the goal's ruled out.
Well, they've hung on in there and waited for their opportunities to come along, and Kiefer Moore, actually, before the corner was thrown in, actually was unlucky at the back post with a header. Came off the Chelsea defender. and behind. He's so difficult to play against. If you get service into the right area, you're not going to stop Kiefer Moore.
So Wrexham 2, Chelsea 3. Newcastle continue to lead through the Harvey Barnes goal against Manchester City. And it is half-time in the Scottish Cup quarter-final with Kenny Crawford.
The score is Dunfermline Athletic 2, Scottish Cup holders Aberdeen 0. Neil Lennon's men heading for a Hampden semi-final. As things stand, Matty Todd's thumping strike and a fortunate effort by Bristol City loanee Ollie Thomas bringing the goals for the Pars. Aberdeen totally out of sorts. Half-time Dunfermline 2, Aberdeen 0.
Listen to Rangers Celtic from noon tomorrow on Sports Extra 3 on your BBC Sounds app. Wrexham, time running out, 3-2 down. Barnett on the right, then going back to Brunt, who for a moment there, for a minute or so, was in all of the newspaper headlines. Lewis Brunt, photos all over social media of his goal, but wiped away, snuffed out as Chelsea carry the ball downfield with Garnacho back to Cucurella and now Andre Santos. And Chelsea just look to keep possession now. Keep possession, just keep the ball for, what have we got left? 2 minutes plus whatever is added on, and Chelsea will be into the quarterfinals again. However, it's given away by Gusto. And so Wrexham can start again.
They've actually been the better team in the second half of extra time. They're the team pushing Chelsea back.
And here they are finding Broadhead in some space. Oh, lovely, beats Santos and then passes it forward to Moore, who got a touch but it ran away from him. Cucurella cleared, Broadhead is onto this, but the referee has given the free kick because Moore then collided with Cucurella and Cucurella stayed down. Moore standing over Cucurella, telling him exactly what he thinks of him, and then Adarabioyo and Badiashile have got involved. There's a bit of pushing and shoving. Cucurella stayed down and he's annoyed Moore. It was a free kick.
It was a free kick, but he's made such a meal of it, Cucurella. I mean, he was slightly late with the challenge, and Cucurella stays down, doesn't move, and oh, guess what? He's sitting up now and he's fine. Chelsea trying to run the clock down against 10-man Wrexham.
Yellow card for Moore as well for his reaction, and a free kick to Chelsea on the edge of the area. If you're listening tonight, we are very close to the fans in this stand. If any of the language has in any way offended you or upset you, then I'm sorry you've had to hear that. Garnacho is now yellow carded, so that's gone down well. At least the Wrexham supporters will enjoy that. Not sure what he's done with his shorts, Garnacho. He seems to have tucked the bottom of his shorts.
Tucked them into his pants, Y-fronts, whatever he's got on underneath.
Would Alejandro Garnacho wear wide fronts?
Well, you don't know, John. Things always come back in fashion, don't they?
They do. And actually all of that retro stuff is quite fashionable. Well, what a frustration for Wrexham. I know they'll be talking about in the pubs in Wrexham Town Centre tonight. They'll feel that officialdom is against them, but I'm not sure they've got too much wrong, have they, Peter Banks and his officials?
No, I think the red card was a red card. Unfortunately for Wrexham, the Lewis Brunt own goal, he was slightly offside, just a boot.
3-2 to Chelsea. Time running out. Ball headed away by Badiashile Laws. Kiefer Moore challenges him and then glares at him. And now O'Brien for Wrexham. Barnett's on the right. Barnett's cross into the area. O'Brien on his left foot curls it. Oh, so close but wide. Oh. Edge of the box. He got a bit of bend on it with his left foot. For all the world, I thought that was curling in. It curled wide.
We are right behind this. He's got 16 yards out and the ball is just sitting there waiting to be buried. And he goes with his left foot, tries to bend it inside that far post. I thought it was heading in. It must have been millimetres, centimetres. wide. How unlucky for Wrexham. They have given this a go, haven't they?
They have, and this is on BBC One tonight. It's been a real Saturday night thriller, hasn't it? Wrexham twice ahead through Smith and Doyle. The own goal from Okonkwo made it 2-1. Acheampong made it 2-2. The sending off of George Dobson. Garnacho scoring with that odd goal that bounced straight back out off the base of the back of the net. That made it 3-2. Lewis Brunt and Wrexham thought they'd got it to 3-3, but VAR with an offside call that was right. He was offside. And it remains 3-2 to Chelsea. It's been quite a tussle here, as we knew it probably would. As soon as the draw was made, I think everyone thought that will be an excellent cup tie, and it has been, as Asugo is forced into playing the ball out of play. Well, I make it, we're now in the 3rd minute of added time, and there have been 5 minutes added on, so there is still time for Wrexham. Ball into the area, Adarabioyo clears it, actually cleared it straight into Broadhead, and it bounced behind for a goal kick. That could have gone anywhere.
It could. No cushion volley clearance, just trying to get it out of the danger area, and Sanchez in absolutely no hurry to take this kick.
Referee's looking at his watch. 5 minutes of added time because of the VAR delay, aftermath of what they thought was the goal. So there is still time. Barnett lift one over the top. Mua against Badiashile. Badiashile just got a touch on that. Cucurella then just volleys it away downfield. Guiu's chasing this one. This is headed back by Brunt to Okonkwo, who's able to take it. I make it now. We're in the 4th minute of 5 of added time. Still Newcastle winning 1-0 against Manchester City in the Cup at St James's Park. Newcastle, Wrexham can't keep the ball in on the far side though. Thomason, and it's a throw into Chelsea, 10 yards inside their own half. 90 seconds to go, Chris.
Chelsea are the panic team, aren't they? Chelsea are the ones who are slowing everything down. They have not, they controlled the first half of extra time, and you thought once they got the goal this would be a foregone conclusion. No way back for Wrexham, but that positive substitution and another attacking player on. It's Wrexham who are finishing this game much the stronger. Phil Parkinson will just be frank. Give me one more half chance. One more half chance.
That's what Wrexham want, but it might come at the other end for Chelsea, because now João Pedro running free through the middle into the D to the edge of the area and shooting into the bottom corner to finish off this cup tie and make it 4-2 to Chelsea. João Pedro scoring for the 4th time this week, the 18th time for Chelsea this season, and that wins it and sends Chelsea through and Wrexham out.
Yeah, it's a brilliant finish from a player in form, gets the ball, drives into the Wrexham box, little shift and whips the ball past the Wrexham goalkeeper Okonkwo into the far corner. It's been brave from Wrexham. They've given this game a right go, down to 10 men in extra time, but it's Chelsea who are going to go through. And there's a classy goal from João Pedro off the bench and finishes this game.
Yeah, a man brimming with confidence after his hat-trick at Villa Park. That's now 11 goals in his last 12 appearances, and he really is in the groove, Chris.
He is, and the key to this goal is just a clever little extra shift of the ball, gets his shot off, and there we go.
There we go, the final whistle at the racecourse ground. Stock Kairas, and Chelsea have won it by 4-2. This, the tie of the round in the FA Cup when the draw was made, this was the one that I think everyone thought that will be tasty, and it has lived up to expectations, Chris.
Oh, absolutely, really enjoyed the game. Wrexham taking the lead on 2 occasions, and then Chelsea coming back twice. The sending off was the big moment in the game towards the end when Dobson brought down Garnacho. It was a red card offence. The referee had to go to the monitor, and then Chelsea saw it through in extra time, but boy did they get a scare.
Phil Parkinson going around the pitch and applauding the Wrexham supporters who've been entertained here tonight, as they continue to be by his team. So the FA Cup is over for Wrexham, but they can still push on and perhaps win a 4th successive promotion. But tonight, no disgrace at all. Going out with 10 men in the end after Dobson's sending off. Going out to Chelsea, who go on into the quarter-finals of the competition, and of course we'll go to Paris next week to play the European champions. And in all honesty, PSG can't make it too much more difficult for them on Wednesday than Wrexham have tonight. So the final score after extra time here: Wrexham 2, Chelsea 4. And we'll take you straight to Tyneside and St James's Park, where Rachel Corsie and Ian Dennis will take you through the remainder of Newcastle against Manchester City.
Thank you, John. Newcastle United lead Manchester City by 1-0. The goal was scored by Harvey Barnes, and that was a lovely ball by Tonali after 18 minutes. They've been playing very, very well. Savinho's forced a save out of Ramsdale in the meantime, as here is Doku, and looking then for the bursting run through the midfield of Reinders and gathered in by Ramsdale. So just for the benefit of our listeners on 5 Live, here are the two teams. Ramsdale in goal for Newcastle, Trippier, Chow, Botman and Hall the defence, Willock, Voltemada and Tonali, and then Elanga, Asula and Harvey Barnes the goal scorer. Black and white striped shirts, black shorts, playing in this first half, and we've got 11 minutes remaining of this first period from right to left. So they're defending the Gallowgate end as Manchester City in their sky blue shirts and white shorts. They've made 10 changes. Haaland's not travelled at all. They have Trafford in goal, Nunes, Stones, Husanov and Ake, and then a midfield of Gonzalez, O'Reilly and Reinders, and then Savinho, Marmouche and Doku. Here is Doku, the Belgian. Reinders will pass the ball back towards the Belgian. Now Ake joins the attack from left back, but they've protected Ramsdale by and large very well in this first half. Here is Stones across towards Savinho, who's seen a lot of the ball. Savinho up against Barnes, back pedal. Savinho goes on the outside, down towards the byline with the cutback, outstretched for Hall. Gonzalez tries to prod it forward. Doku lets it settle inside a cramped penalty area, very congested, looking for an opening, and Tonali clears the ball away. Newcastle having to defend well. Rachel Corsie.
They did really well to just crowd Manchester City out. I think as the ball comes back to the edge of the box, Nico Gonzalez just gets a touch, and I actually think it's on for the strike, and he almost takes it away from, I think it was the feet of O'Reilly. They keep it alive, but Newcastle smother it. Danger's cleared for now.
Well, they've had a number of opportunities before they actually scored. Gonzalez made a goal line clearance from a Voltemada header after Trafford had dropped Asula's header. Asula very much in a good moment, in the words of Eddie Howe, after that fabulous goal against Manchester United when they were down to 10 men in midweek. And Ramsdale, who is in excellent form himself, will clear long and away downfield. And Trafford comes out of his penalty area, all in green, and touches the ball forward towards Husanov. It's been a good cup tie, hasn't it?
Really good cup tie. Newcastle been alive. They've put City under pressure, made it difficult for them. Used probably the fact they've got a number of players who need to consider first choice against a team for City who maybe haven't started as many games as others.
Here is Savinho dancing his way down this right touchline and tries to come on the inside of Hall, who's, I've got to say, is having an outstanding game at left back. Lewis Hall, I think, barring injury, he is a shoo-in to go with England to the World Cup, to the United States, Canada and Mexico in the summer. Here is Marmouche, and there again is Lewis Hall, once again sensing the danger, and just when it looked like Marmouche was shaping to shoot, and he nipped.
Exactly that, just reads the danger well, comes narrow, he has to come inside, and he has to come from the wrong side because he's covering alongside Botman. He does well to just use his body, shield the ball, gather possession.
I remember his debut for Chelsea, actually. It was actually at Manchester City in a League Cup tie in November 2022. And any Chelsea fans that have already back in the car on their way back from North Wales, they might recall that occasion as well, because when you see a youngster, and he's still only 21 now, you think what the prospects he's got for such a young man. He's
got a great career ahead of him if he keeps himself healthy and continues to be hungry to learn and improve. That's always the biggest thing, is you've got to maintain that competitiveness to just want to be the best you can be. I'm sure he has it, because he wouldn't have got this far if he hasn't. You can tell in the way he plays and goes into battles. Example tonight, 1v1 mostly against Savinho, tricky player, handled himself excellently.
Well, Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, is here at St James's Park tonight as Husanov carries it forward. Ake on the halfway line, passes it out towards Doku. Reinders now will run forward. Reinders into the area, but there was the interception from Botman, and then Tonali on the cover after Botman had initially lost it. And all of a sudden now, probably this is Manchester City, would you agree, their best spell of this first half?
Yeah, I would, and you can tell that Newcastle are feeling that pressure, because even that's twice now Newcastle have just chosen to launch the ball clear, and that's indicative of when legs are tired, you're suffering, you know you're edging closer to half-time, but you know you've been defending under pressure for a little extended period.
Here is Doku, level of the penalty area left-hand side, enters the box now, goes towards the byline, in towards the near post, and it bounces off the legs of Savinho. And despite the best efforts of Ramsdale, Savinho with the equaliser, and their best spell of the game has brought them level, 1-1.
That might be one of the strangest finishes I think I've ever seen. It literally does, as you say, just hit Savinho in the shins. He's standing inside the 6-yard box in line with the back post, really, and as the ball fizzes across, Lewis Hall's come inside narrow to mark Marmoush. Both of them miss it, and they're only 3-4 yards ahead of Savinho. As it's fizzed across with pace, it literally just hits Savinho and just trickles over the line. Ramsdale tries his best to try and dive backwards and keep it out, but is well over the line. Certainly a goal.
I don't actually think that he actually made a motion to kick it, did he?
Definitely didn't. He literally is just stood there. I think he anticipates that Hall swings a leg and just misses. He's claiming that Marmoush ran into him and bundled him over. I still think Hall can get something on that. He goes for a big sort of swing. Sometimes you're better to just open your instep and just sort of stun it back where it's come from. Yes, he's under pressure. You're doing your best in those situations, but they completely miss it, him and Marmoush. It just hits Savinho.
Well, Savinho, his first start since New Year's Day, when he played against Sunderland. He only recently returned to the City matchday squad on the 21st of February, and he's still yet to score actually in the Premier League this season. He scored a couple in the League Cup, and now he's got his first in the FA Cup, and here he is running forward, and he finds Reinders, and Reinders is in here and he's pulled it wide. What an opportunity that was for Manchester City. Right-footed, inside right channel of the penalty area, and you're thinking, I was waiting for the net to bulge.
Glorious opportunity. He just drags it. He's down on the right-hand side, and with his right foot, he just cuts across it far too much. He just drags it wide in that far corner. I think just in the last couple of minutes, Lewis Hall, you can see he's felt under pressure. Savinho there just slipped by him as if he wasn't there, and he was just a little too eager to come out. He needs to just calm himself down, maybe flustered a little bit from the goal and feeling he maybe could have done a little bit better. But I think Newcastle just need to steady the ship. They started well, not had much of the ball probably in the last 10 or so minutes.
Ramsdale caught in possession. Ramsdale has lost it. It's pulled back towards O'Reilly, helped out by Willock. All of a sudden, Newcastle United, who are playing with confidence, are now looking at uncertain and jittery at the back.
They are, and there's been a couple of moments earlier where they've tried to play out down this left-hand side, and the City press is good. It's very efficient. They'll try and trick you into playing in areas that you then get stuck in, and that's exactly what happened to Ramsdale. He almost managed to gather it. He couldn't. The ball was loose.
Corner kick for Manchester City, 1-1, 5 live. Savinho to take it near side the right, headed up rather than away by Botman. It'll now go back by Reinders towards Doku, pups up on the right hand side of the penalty area towards Savinho. He's full of confidence, finds Reinders once again, back towards Savinho, unmarked. It's a weak effort and it's cleared away by Newcastle. Newcastle are firmly on the back foot here.
They are, and it's all hands on deck inside that penalty area. That time there, I think it was Willock, smothered it clear once again.
Corner taken short on the right. Doku sends over the cross, and then Ramsdale gathers it in, catches it, and then places the ball to the feet of Tonali. Cut out though by backpedaling Gonzalez. Gonzalez forward towards O'Reilly. Manchester City have their tails up here. They are playing with an intensity and trying to force Newcastle back at every opportunity. Doku on the edge of the area. Reinders helps him out. Here is Marmoush, who's actually had a quiet game. This guy hasn't. Savinho into the area, goes to one knee. Lewis Hall, they've quickly swamped him. He's had to battle for that, and Savinho wins it back for Manchester City. Here is Nunes, almost like they were suffocating Newcastle United deep inside their own penalty area. Botman, they can't get out. Newcastle can't get out. Manchester City are all over them. Now all of a sudden there's an interception, and Willett tries to get away from Marmoush. Willett goes in for the challenge with Marmoush, and Marmoush is being applauded by Pep Guardiola for his endeavour.
Yeah, 2 fists in the air there, and sometimes, you know, that's one of the things that pleases managers most. Marmoush gives the ball away, counter-attacks pending, and the striker works incredibly hard to dig himself back into the good books.
Ball chipped forward by Savinho for Reinders as it drops over his right shoulder. He's tried to hit it first time, but it's come off his right boot, not got anywhere near the goal, and out for a goal kick. All of a sudden you're thinking Eddie Howe will probably want half-time on the evidence of the last 10 minutes.
He will want half-time, but there's still probably 3 or 4 minutes to be played, and you can't play like that thinking you just want the whistle to blow. You've got to come in with the intensity, because we've seen in many opportunities in the last 20 or so minutes that Manchester City need very little time to create something that's dangerous, and you know, you just need to ride these waves. Good decision, I think, in this moment. Ramsdale's going to kick it long. They'll try and compete for the first and second ball, and they've had success doing that in the opening stages, and it'll just be a reminder, let's get back to that.
The voice of Rachel Corsie with us here at St James's Park tonight. Newcastle United 1, Manchester City 1. Kolo Touré, I think, has been shown a yellow card by referee Sam Barrett. Pep Guardiola just turning around, and a little shake of the head by the Manchester City head coach.
No, I'm unsure if he's shaking the head at the decision or shaking his head at Kolo Touré, and I hope it's a first for Kolo Touré's sake.
Yeah, it was the no doubt Lewis Smith, the 4th official, that would have alerted Sam Barrett to whatever had been taking place behind him over that left shoulder of his. We're inside the last 30 seconds, 1 apiece. Offside against Asula. Manchester City take the free kick too quickly, and we'll find out now how much stoppage time there will be here on 5 Live Sport for what has been a captivating cup tie here at St James's Park, with the chances that Newcastle created early on, but then with the quality of Manchester City. Despite making the 10 changes, they have quality oozing in every department, and you'd naturally expect them to come back into this cup tie, and that is exactly the case. And it is now evenly poised for what will be a very intriguing second half as the ball goes forward towards Marmoush. He tries to guide his header into the path of the onrushing Reinders. Voltemada digs it out. Trippier tries to touch it towards Elanga. Back it goes to the former England international, but Manchester City going after Newcastle and looking to try and put them under pressure, and Trippier can clear, and Gonzalez heads it forward towards O'Reilly, uses his strength in the midfield to Ake. Got there first before Elanga could intervene. Tonali again looks for that early release over the top, and Elanga will give chase, and Husanov will tidy up back towards Trafford. I think they were just relieved to give a respite to their defence.
Yeah, good pace from Husanov though, because I thought initially when the ball went in behind into that channel would favour Elanga.
Well, there indeed is the half-time whistle, and there was no stoppage time whatsoever. So half-time at St James's Park, Newcastle 1, Manchester City 1. It was Harvey Barnes that gave Newcastle the lead. After 18 minutes, they'd only had a goal line clearance from Gonzalez to deny them an earlier goal 7 minutes before that. And then Manchester City coming back into it with, like you say, a strange goal from Savinho. But how would you sum up the first 45 minutes in its entirety?
Well, I think Newcastle were sensational for that opening 20 minutes. 2 or 3 glorious opportunities before they then did get that goal that Harvey Barnes took wonderfully well. Man City came into it as you'd expect, and probably as the half drew to a close, the midfield of City dominated, and it was really down their right hand side they were causing all the problems. Savinho and Nunes, the two that really were the catalyst for most opportunities, but at half-time we're even.
We are indeed. Half-time then here at St James's Park. Newcastle United 1, Manchester City 1. Rachel, thank you. If you want to get yourself a half-time brew, then feel free, because others have work to do. Because we'll get an update from Dunfermline Aberdeen, Kenny Crawford.
56 minutes gone, Ian, and it's still Dunfermline Athletic of the Championship 2, Scottish Cup holders Aberdeen 0, and Aberdeen, realising the seriousness of the situation, have brought on 3 half-time subs because they know that keeping this Scottish Cup journey alive is what their season rides upon, because the league, they're flailing about down in 9th there, and they're dominating the first 10 minutes of this second half, but with no clear-cut chances at the moment. So Neil Lennon's men still in the driving seat. Dunfermline Athletic 2, Aberdeen 0.
Thanks, Kenny. We've got reaction from Rome to come, but first of all we're going to go straight to Wrexham and Gary Flintoff.
Thank you, Ian. I'm literally pitch side with Alejandro Garnacho. Congratulations, you are through to the next round. Is it safe to say you were asked a lot of questions by Wrexham tonight?
Yeah, it's always good to play away, you know. This stadium was really hard, so yeah, they did a great job, but we have to do our job, and we did.
In terms of a game like this, do you quite enjoy that challenge? Plus, it was a physical challenge for you tonight. You certainly had to work hard, and ultimately you were involved in what was a sending off for them, and then what was the winning goal for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think this type of games is like a fight, you know, and sometimes it's more harder than, for example, a Premier League game or Champions League. So we have to be ready for every type of context, and today was really hard. We play extra time, so I think now it's time to recover and be ready for the next one.
And the manager made 9 changes today. Did you sort of feel as if you had to be one of the senior men out there today?
Yeah. I played the last game, but I recovered well, so I'm ready to play a game every 3 days. And I think we did really well, so I'm happy to score and to win.
It's interesting you mentioned that, but clearly the FA Cup, the manager's just said to me he really fancies Chelsea's chances in the tournament this season. You're going well in Europe, you're obviously going well in the Premier League. Do you think tonight has shown that you have the number of players, the squad strength to compete in all of those competitions?
Yeah, now in football you will need a full squad to win trophies, because we play every 3 days and we will have to trust in everyone. I think we have great players. So yeah, now we're in quarterfinals. I will try to win the FA Cup. It's always good to win a trophy. Yeah?
Good to hear you say that. Well played tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro. Thanks for joining us on 5 Live.
Thank you, Gary Flintoff, pitch side with Alejandro Garnacho after Wrexham 2, Chelsea 4. Earlier in the FA Cup 5th round, Mansfield Town 1, Arsenal 2. So Arsenal and Chelsea join Liverpool in Monday night's draw for the quarter-finals. We'll have reaction to come, but next on 5 Live, it's the news with Erica Witherington.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Officials in the United Arab Emirates say one person's been killed by falling debris as countries across the region say they've been targeted by fresh Iranian strikes. Earlier, Tehran had promised to stop firing at its neighbours unless they attacked it first. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there is a systemic plan to eradicate the Iranian regime. He pledged to continue the war with all Israel's force. Explosions have been reported in cities across Iran. BBC News has learned one of Britain's 2 aircraft carriers has been placed on advanced readiness to sail from Portsmouth. There's speculation the ship could be sent to the Middle East to defend British interests in the region. Other news, and one of Britain's most notorious child killers, Ian Huntley's, died in hospital after he was attacked in prison. He was serving a life sentence for murdering 10-year-olds Holly Chapman and Jessica Wells in Soham in 2002.
Strikes have begun against Iran from Israel and from the US. BBC Radio 5 Live.
What we're going to do is give you some context, help you understand really what's going on, what it means for us here in the UK, what it means globally as well.
We've now got a new front in this war which is spreading.
We are shaken with fears, but we still have hope.
Let's dig in a bit more into what will be happening in embassies and foreign ministries right around the world.
We are in an incredibly changeable political situation with the Middle East conflict, and the reason the gas price is so important is that feeds into the price we pay on electricity.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is 5 Live Sports.
The FA Cup.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Good evening, I'm Ian Dennis here at St James's Park. Half-time, Newcastle United 1, Manchester City 1. In the Scottish Cup quarter-final, there's been a goal at East End Park. Kenny Crawford.
And this is turning into a demolition. Ian, Dunfermline Athletic 3, Scottish Cup holders Aberdeen 0. Counter-attack, Chris Kane played in Ollie Thomas. The Bristol City loanee took his time and placed his shot in off the far post. Dunfermline Athletic 3, Aberdeen 0.
Neil Lennon's side then going through to the semi-finals, where they will join Falkirk. Rangers Celtic takes place tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Commentary on Sports Extra 3, and then the concluding quarter-final will be St Mirren against Partick Thistle at 7:30. Well, what a day it's been on 5 Live Sport, as we now reflect on the rugby, and 2 huge upsets today in the Six Nations. Scotland ran in 7 tries to beat France and end their Grand Slam hopes, and in Rome, England were beaten by Italy for the very first time. They lost 23-18. Here's the England coach, Steve Borthwick.
Firstly, credit Italy, the way they played. They are a top quality opposition. You can see that in each and every one of their performances. We are bitterly disappointed, as with all our supporters. We're bitterly disappointed. I thought at 60 minutes, I thought we had the game under control. Fortunately, going down to 13 men hurt us badly.
Was it that discipline piece then? Because at 18-10, as you say, you were in control.
Yeah, I think everybody could see that. Unfortunately, you then lose those 2 players, and then they kicked a couple of those goals, and then they took that one chance very, very well. And unfortunately, again, we were unable to get across the try line as often as we want to.
And did the yellow cards then affect the use of your bench? Because we didn't see Henry Pollock until late, Jamie George went almost 80, didn't see Chandler, that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, obviously from a leadership point of view, the importance with Maro off the field, the importance of Jamie George continuing there from that leadership point. With Sam Underhill and Maro off the pitch, it meant back 5 of the scrum, you were limited in what changes we could make. So everything got knocked back. So yeah, it clearly had a significant impact upon the game.
Can I ask about the game plan, Steve? I know the kicking game brought so much joy last year, and contestables and kicking are so important at this level, but for 3 times in a row that aerial game hasn't yielded success. Do you need to fundamentally look at how you're setting the team up?
Well, I think Italy in that period when we went to 13, 14 men, it was Italy's aerial game that cost us, that hurt us and created opportunities for them. I think when you get the balance right of the attack with the kicking game, this team plays very, very well. At this point, the balance isn't quite where it needs to be. So we'll be looking at that to ensure that next week it is where we need it to be.
So in terms of the balance, is that something that you can improve in terms of preparation?
Well, I think that we'll be looking at that, obviously. Ultimately, as we look at this now, for the last 12 months, we've been scoring a lot of tries. Averaging nearly 5 tries a game throughout last year. Unfortunately, right now we're not able to get as much scoreboard pressure as we want, because we're not getting across the try line as much as we would want. And there's a couple of errors within that. Clearly, the breakdown was hard fought by both teams today. Both teams won a lot of turnovers at the breakdown. But ultimately, we want to get across that try line more often than we have been in the last 3 games.
There'd been an expectation the team was really going to build after your run. How big a setback have these 3 games been to the whole process?
Well, clearly this is a real challenging time. This is a really tough time, and I think the players' application this week. I talked about the intensity that not being where it needs to be in prior game. I thought their intensity was very good today. Unfortunately, the discipline was an area that cost us. But I think in so many ways, the players, I've just seen them all, they are feeling it. They're really feeling it. So I know they'll be determined to put it right next week.
England head coach Steve Borthwick with our correspondent Chris Jones. Well, a historic day for Italy. Here's the Italian captain, Michele Lamaro.
It's been quite amazing. Obviously, we didn't have the best performances of our life, but we managed to stick together for the whole game. And we believed that we could win this, and we believed since the first minute that we could go over the line a couple of times, and we did it at the very last. And obviously, I couldn't be prouder of the boys' performance. Obviously, there was a lot of tension at the start of the game. But now we feel like obviously very, 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 very happy with the results.
No win ever against England until today. How special is this?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like to keep writing the Italian history is something that we're all very proud of. But we're doing this to inspire people, to inspire Italian youngster that wants to come and play with this team. And I think that's the best way to do it, because like the passion we show every single day we step on this field is amazing, and I can't ask more to the boys in terms of effort to show on the pitch. And today, I think the bench was absolutely amazing.
Well, earlier in the day on 5 Live, we brought you an exciting commentary from Murrayfield. Scotland beat France by 50 points to 40 to give themselves a chance to win the Six Nations next weekend. Now, they need to better France's result next weekend to lift their first Six Nations title. Let's hear from Gregor Townsend.
Gregor, is that your greatest day as Scotland coach?
Oh, that's I'll have to think on that one. It was obviously a brilliant day for our supporters. Great rugby game. You know, the second half, that third quarter, shows us at our best. And it's not just the rugby we played, the mindset to keep attacking. Right? Not many teams would set on that. A lot of teams would set on that lead against France. But we know the best way of winning is playing what got us the success in the first half, and that takes a lot of effort, huge physicality and the skill the players have.
You just stuck 50 points on France. You are level with them at the top of the Six Nations table. This is like unprecedented territory for Scotland. Did you believe at the start of the day that was possible?
I believed in the team. I believed that the weather being great, the fact that there is going to be opportunities. France playing an attacking game, and I've seen from the players, the games gone by and training sessions, that our game is built to create quick ball and put some of our best strike players in the game into space, and they just built on phase after phase, and they grew in confidence. But it reminded me a lot of what we did in the New Zealand game for a period of 50-60 minutes. Today we were more clinical, and we obviously kept it going into the second half.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Thanks, Sonia.
That's Gregor Townsend with Sonia McLaughlin in the tennis at Indian Wells. 4 British players are playing their second round matches back to back, and Russell Fuller, I'm hearing Jack Draper is through.
Having turned the match around, Ian, he lost the first set of his title defence 6-3 to Roberto Bautista Agut, broke early in the second to win that 6-3 as his serve improved significantly. He was very up and down in the decider, Draper, in only his 4th match since August because of injury, but he saved all 5 break points he faced, broke the Spaniard twice, he's won it 6-2, and Sonny Cartel is now warming up against the seeded Emma Navarro, with Cameron Norrie, a former champion here, and Jacob Fernley to play later in the evening.
Thanks, Russell. We've already had reaction from the racecourse ground after Wrexham 2, Chelsea 4. Chelsea going through against the 10 men to book their place in the FA Cup quarter-finals after extra time. Earlier, Arsenal booked their place in the last 8 after a 2-1 victory against Mansfield Town. Eberechi Eze came off the bench to score the winner for the Premier League leaders. Here is their manager, Mikel Arteta.
I'm delighted. It was a proper FA Cup game. To respect the history of this competition, you have to really enjoy coming to this kind of grounds or position, and especially the crowd, which I think they were fabulous. They made the game very, very interesting, very intense, a bit of banter, which I think is necessary as well when you play the competition. And yeah, credit to Nigel and the team, because they made it really hard for us.
How are you feeling following that? Because the quadruple is still on, but as an occasion that must have been great to be a part of down here.
It was great. I said to the boys, you have to, if you love the game and you respect the game, you have to really enjoy coming back to it, because we all been in this kind of stadiums, pitches throughout our careers to be where we are. And don't take it for granted. Enjoy it, make the most out of it, and be prepared, because you're going to be tough.
Well, you prepared as you would do for any game. Yeah. Were even you surprised just how good Mansfield were today? They were fully at it from the off.
Yeah, but that's normal, you know, and that's what you expect, the team to be at the very best or better than they've been, because when they play against us, there is obviously something extra, and big credit to them, because they've done really well.
No sign of the teams here at St James's Park, which I think means we can squeeze in a little bit of the Mansfield manager, Nigel Clough.
A little bit of disappointment. Extremely proud of how we've played and what we've done, but a little bit of disappointment because you don't get many opportunities against the likes of Arsenal, and we had one today.
What does it say about how well your team performed that you've just lost narrowly 2-1 to the Premier League leaders, and you're disappointed by it?
That's it. Well, it's a little bit of a mix. It's definitely mixed emotions and mixed feelings, because we can't say how proud we are of the players to a man. And as I say, the club generally, that you know, they're hosting the game today and everything. I think we've shown ourselves in a good light. but on the pitch, we've given them a game. We've given the league leaders a game. They may end up winning 3 or 4 trophies this year, I don't know. And we've run them pretty close today.
You always come across as very calm, very measured. When the equaliser went in, what was it like standing over there?
Well, it was brilliant. Didn't actually see him. I think it was a little bit of a misplaced pass, but Will pounced on it. But then when we score here, it feels like the roof's coming off of that main stand. It always surprises people, the noise, and it did us sort of 5 years ago. It doesn't now, but it honestly sounds as though the roof's coming off.
And to round up the sporting headlines, George Russell will be on pole tomorrow morning for the season opening Australian Grand Prix. We'll have commentary of that here on 5 Live from 4 a.m. The two teams are out at St James's Park. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live. It is Newcastle 1, Manchester City 1. Neither side has made a change during the interval, so I can run through the two teams as we're back underway. One apiece, Ramsdale in goal for Newcastle, Trippier, Chow, Botman and Hall the defence, Willock, Voltemada and Tonali, Elanga, Asula and Barnes. As Manchester City, who are playing from right to left as we look quickly on the attack with Marmoush on the edge of the area. They're in their sky blue shirts and white shorts against Newcastle in their black and white striped shirts and black shorts. City playing from left to right as they have Trafford in goal, Núñez, Stones, Husanov and Ake their defence, Gonzalez, O'Reilly and Reinders the midfield, Savinho, Marmoush and Doku. And as Newcastle managed to force Manchester City back, already Manchester City are quickly into their groove with their passing and their movement, and O'Reilly sends over the cross. Marmoush, it wouldn't settle for him, and Newcastle clear the ball away. But Rachel Corsie, it's evident as Doku looks for Reinders inside the area, Reinders looking for a sight of goal, that Manchester City have carried on where they left off in the first half.
Absolutely, and it's a real hard ask to contain them when they're like this. Free flowing, just flying into the box there, O'Reilly fizzing it across. I actually thought Marmoush's touch was excellent, but Newcastle immediately off the back of it swarmed him, snuffed out the danger.
That's Rachel Corsie, the former Scotland captain, 154 caps for Scotland. And I can tell you she was absolutely proud as punch when I met up with her earlier on with the rugby scoreline as well, as I would imagine as many as Scott after that terrific win against France. But here we're watching the sky blue shirts of Manchester City come forward, and Manchester City with another opening. It's another cross and it's tucked in by Marmoush. The low ball delivered from the right, and Marmoush had all the time in the world to control it and fire it into the empty net. And Manchester City have come out of the traps, and they now have come from behind and lead 2-1.
And I feel like that team talk at half-time was probably actually one where Pep was inside and really at them, because the ferocity that they've come out into this second half and really put Newcastle under so much pressure. The ball's fizzed across the face. I think O'Reilly should actually score, but he's taken a whole load of bodies with him as few players end up in the back of the net, and as it lands at Marmoush, as you say, he's just got so much time, and he's probably only 3 yards away. He just sets himself in that first touch that a moment ago or two was swarmed out. This time it wasn't, and he just launches it into the back of the net from very close range.
It was Núñez who delivered the cross, and as Rachel says, it was missed by O'Reilly, but an unmarked Marmoush was not going to miss from that sort of distance, and the Egyptian international, and they've come from behind. And for large parts in the early stages of the first half, they were second best, but they finished the first half strongly. They've started the second half extremely brightly, and now they're leading by 2-1.
It just goes back to that point you made, Deno, in the opening 10 or so minutes when Newcastle missed what felt like two glorious opportunities with Asula and Voltemada, that would they rue those chances? And it just 1-0. You're always dangerous when you're playing City, and sure enough they've come right into it. They've been very good.
They've come out with their bit between the teeth, passing the ball around, and now all of a sudden it's very, very hard for Newcastle United to try and get a touch of it, such as City's control.
Yeah, I can't really remember the last time Asula, who's in that number 9 role that can feel isolating at times, I can't think of the last time he sort of had a touch or even got near the ball, even someone trying to pass it to him. And I just wonder if Eddie Howe will consider slightly changing it up. They've just lost a little bit of control in the midfield, a little bit of dominance. They started the game with composure, plenty of possession. They just haven't managed to contain that.
Ball goes back to Trafford. Newcastle United, who played with an intensity at the very early stages of the game, are now trying to put pressure on Manchester City's back line, but they've played it towards Trafford, and he then will clear it away downfield. And got this stat from Bill Edgar of the Times. Manchester City are on a record run of most wins by a league club away from Wembley in the FA Cup. Currently stands at 30 matches. The previous record was 13. As Savinho cuts inside and he pulls that one well wide. That was 13 by Preston, set in 1937. But for Manchester City, their record in this competition is incredible, really. In rounds 3, 4 and 5, they've won their last 23 matches by an aggregate score of 89-11 since losing to Wigan in 2018 by a 1-0. Such has been their ability to get into the latter stages. And Newcastle United, the latest team to try and stop them, but at the minute Manchester City are still coming forward, oozing, and this is Doku trying to burst his way in towards the penalty area, and then header forward by Stones. Trippier, his former England teammate, will keep the ball in play, puts it to where it came from. Asula backing in towards Stones. Nunes. Asula though was pulled back. That'll be a free kick. Referee Sam Barrett will give that to the home side. But they just need to try and get some sort of a toehold back in the game as we get an update from the Scottish Cup quarter-final at Dunfermline with Kenny Crawford.
78 minutes gone, still Dunfermline Athletic 3, Aberdeen 0. Neil Lennon, the Dunfermline manager, has won the Scottish Cup 8 times as a Celtic player or manager. Now he is looking like he's going to be guiding the Pars to the semi-final. They've completely dominated the Dons and they've nearly scored a fourth. It's Dunfermline 3, Aberdeen 0.
Sounds extremely comfortable. Voltemada here has just had a shot. It was right-footed, outside the area, always on the rise, comfortable over the keeper.
It was. I was just going to say my mum was hoping for a ticket for that Dunfermline game. She'll be glad that she couldn't get one in the away end.
Yeah, it'll be a night to forget as Aberdeen relinquish their grip on the trophy, and they will then go alongside Hibs as another scalp for Neil Lennon's side as they move to the last four. Rangers Celtic tomorrow 1 o'clock. We'll have commentary of that on Sports Extra 3. St Mirren Partick is a 7:30 kickoff. The match of the day highlights of the FA Cup 5th round tomorrow night 10:30 BBC One. Chow. There was almost an opening there for Marmouche. They seemed to both leave that forward ball.
There was. It just was one of those 50-50s that Elanga put his teammate in trouble. Chow didn't want to commit in case he missed the tackle, then there was no one to cover for him, and in the end they both left it and he was able to fortunately sweep up.
7 minutes into the second half, Manchester City lead by 2-1. Trafford, who played in both the semi-final second legs against Newcastle in the League Cup. He has been the Cup goalkeeper for Manchester City after earlier that record scoreline against Exeter City of 10-1 and then Salford 2-0. This has been their first Premier League opposition as Pep Guardiola is remonstrating wildly with the fourth official.
I mean, that was quite clearly a foul. Trippier gets done, Madoku gets too tight, comes in, he just gets rolled, and he knows he does, so he actually takes quite a swipe, not one that would be any more than probably a yellow card, but that is incredible. It's right in front of the referee, and Pep rightly so furious, although I imagine he will be in trouble for that demonstration.
Well, he's actually taken his jacket off. He was that fired up and that het up and he's still chuntering away, and I think that we've already seen Kolo Touré have a yellow card for something that has been said to Lewis Smith and Pep Guardiola, and now he pleads his innocence. Oh, I don't think that's a good look at all. He went to square up with the fourth official and he clenched his fists.
He did clench his fists, and that was quite an intimidating look as well, as he approached the fourth official and got very close. I would agree with you. I don't think that's something that you're allowed to do, and I'm very surprised there's not been further consequence. He's still remonstrating with his hands and gestures. I think somebody potentially needs to try and calm him down, although I'm not sure anybody in the Manchester City staff fancy that right now.
No, but I think when you're talking about respecting the match officials, one of the more illustrious managers in the name, and with the eyes of the world watching, I don't think that's a good look at all. I mean, clearly it was the wrong decision, but
it's the middle of the park. It was the wrong decision, but it wasn't a decision that you would imagine was massively contributing to a moment that was going to be anything more than just a potential attack.
10 minutes into the second half, 5 live. Manchester City lead by 2-1. Tonali towards Voltemade. Voltemade turns, fouled from behind by Doku, free kick, referee Sam Barrett. I think maybe a more experienced fourth official would have again had words with Sam Barrett, and I think another yellow card could easily have followed there for Pep Guardiola, who continues to...
Yeah, I mean, it could have even been a straight red, I think. Just it was very aggressive and certainly had that sort of intimidation factor to it.
Tonali to take the free kick. We're 30 yards out from goal, we're just in from the right touchline. I think he's now sarcastically clapping in earshot of the fourth official. Tonali with a teasing ball in, drops inside the area, Willock skies it. Couldn't keep it down, leaning slightly backwards inside the penalty area, into the Gallagate end, left-footed, goal kick, 2-1 to Manchester City.
Well, that's a poor finish for me, because he's got plenty of time, it falls to him nicely. Yes, it's on his left foot. A real wild swing, you know, those are ones, just make sure you connect with it to get enough pace and send that on target. There's bodies in the way, but you know, a deflection, anything could happen. To send it over the bar is a let-off.
Chow, his forward ball, Asula, held away and held off by Husinov. Doku challenged quickly by Trippier, breaks forward, Elanga goes down the line, Willett makes the run. Husinov slides into the challenge, goes out of play for a throw to Newcastle United, which they take quickly. And then Trippier lifts that ball back in towards the to the centre circle. I think he's just about calmed down now. We've got almost a bird's eye view of what was going on right in front of us here.
Yeah, we had a great view of that, and he's out of my eye line now. I can't see him at all. I'm assuming he's sat down, and probably a smart thing for him to do.
It was Chow who looked for the ball over the top. Elanga was making the run in off the right touchline through towards Trafford. Here is John Stones, as we've mentioned in the first half. 65 minutes against Salford, his only football since the 2nd of December. He'd missed 18 matches with a hamstring injury from December to February. As Nunes rolls away from Lewis Hall, looks for Savinho, but Harvey Barnes was running back to intercept, and his forward ball finds Hall, but then he can't find Barnes with a return pass, and it goes straight towards Marmouche, infield towards O'Reilly. O'Reilly tees it up towards Reinders, passes the ball down the line towards Doku. Doku quickly closed down by Newcastle's defence. Left-hand side of the penalty area, City lead 2-1. Reinders edge of the area, turns onto his left foot, still can't get the shot away. Passes the ball short, back out to the left, to the side of the penalty area for Doku. Infield towards Gonzalez. Manchester City, though, still keeping the ball. You can hear the home crowd's response. They want to see Newcastle try and get closer to try and dispossess them.
They do, but it's very difficult. They've always got those spare players underneath the ball. Their movement's good. You even see here both centre-backs well into Newcastle's half. Gonzalez just the one that keeps everything moving, just ticking along nicely.
The away fans' allocation of just under 5,000, I think it was 4,893. I can hear them singing Blue Moon high up in the gods, and believe me, that is a long way up, high up towards our left-hand side. Newcastle are going to make a double change. We're going to see Joe Linton coming on, as well as Johan Wissa. Interested to see who the two coming off. I'd hazard a guess that Voltemade might be one.
He might go into, well, yeah, with Wissa as well. Probably he will be one, and potentially Asula. Joe Linton does give them a bit more of a different dynamic in midfield naturally. And Wissa will potentially give them a little more stretching behind. Asula's done well with what's come to him. He had a good chance in the first half he might have done better with.
Thought whilst Rachel was talking we might have had a triple change, but all it was is that Dan Burn, who's got his tracksuit top off, breaks to Marmouche with a shot, beaten away by Ramsdale. Reinders on the follow-up, clearance by Hall, and then turned behind by Chow. And it's a corner kick to Manchester City, but he almost had a third.
It did, and Hall does really well in the end, because I actually think it's going wide, the shot. He doesn't know that though. As Reinders follows up, he just throws his body at it, and he does well not to knock it into his own goal instead. Just sweeps his leg and makes sure it doesn't sneak into that far corner.
In front of the watching Thomas Tuchel. He had an excellent first half, Lewis Hall, and he had to be alert there. Corner kick for Manchester City towards the far post, headed back and into the near post by O'Reilly. In fact, Ramsdale's got a touch on that. It's gone behind for another corner kick.
Brilliant save. O'Reilly deep round the back post, somehow free. Newcastle slightly in a half and half of zonal and marking. Once again, you can see there's players free around the back post.
Corner kick for Savinho, far side the right. Riley again making a nuisance of himself. Does Ramsdale catch the ball before it drops behind? No, it'll be another corner kick. Ramsdale protests to referee Sam Barrett. It'll be another corner for Manchester City, who are on top in this second half. Rachel Corson.
Yeah, did really well there. You can see there's just a cluster of 3 players in that little central zone. Theo and Botman and marking duties can be tricky in amongst players.
Played just over an hour here on 5 Live Sport. Trippier's just gone down to his knees in an incident inside that penalty area. Sam Barrett, the referee, having a word with Trippier. He goes back towards marking Marmouche, who tries to give him the slip. A lot of jostling taking place. In comes the corner from Reinders, headed out by Tonali, headed back out by Nunez, knocked up in the air by Tonali. Willock plays it forward, it goes behind Asula and allows Manchester City to tidy the ball up, and it will be a triple change after all, that Dan Burn will be coming on for Newcastle United to join Joe Linton and Wissa. Remember, both sides are involved in the Champions League next week, and indeed we're going to bring you 5 commentaries in the Champions League next week. Galatasaray Liverpool at 5:45, Newcastle Barcelona from St James's Park on Tuesday night. Atletico against Spurs will be on Sports Extra. Leverkusen Arsenal Wednesday 5:45, followed by Real Madrid against Manchester City. So Elanga has come off. Joe Linton comes on for Anthony Elanga. Asula, as Rachel Corsie had alluded, is coming off for Johan Wissa to come on. He's gone 7 games without a goal. And then Kieran Trippier is the other player to come off. He's started now each of the last 11, so Dan Burn will come on to replace him. Lewis Hall will switch to right back, and Dan Burn, I think, has gone across to left back.
We had talked about how well Lewis Hall had done in that first half, but I did feel he was just starting to lose the battle against Savinho and Nunez, who are both down his side. He's played right back before, as you also mentioned.
Here is Doku. Manchester City, I mean, the schedule has been quite demanding, particularly for Newcastle United, bearing in mind they had to play those additional playoff games in the Champions League. I know they won convincingly against Karabakh, but there was a lot of travelling out to Azerbaijan as Nunez is forward here, out to Savinho, right corner of the area. Nunez has continued to run, his low cross blocked, and Burn tries to get there to the former Wolves man. City, though, will still keep it alive. Sky blue shirts on that right-hand side. Reinders. And now it is with Gonzalez. Ake, forward ball. O'Reilly looking to try and turn. And that spinning ball will be cleared by Lewis Hall, but only as far as Gonzalez. Manchester City have been so dominant in this second period.
They have, and Gonzalez as well has been so good at that.
Threaded the ball through to Savinho, and he's just tried to tee up Reinders, but Reinders was flat-footed, and it's allowed Newcastle to clear.
Well, he just assumes that Savinho is going to just whip that into the far corner. I can only assume. It's a wonderful little reverse ball. It's tight whether it's offside or not, but central area, just a straight ball in behind. Little diagonal run from Savinho, and I reckon you just use your left foot and send that into the far post. He tries to cut it back, and even the cutback probably could have been a lot better.
I think, like you, that Pep Guardiola was expecting the goal to bulge, and he was expecting a shot from Savinho, who you've got to see his equalising goal. It just bounced off him from the low cross from the left. Here is Marmoush. Marmoush for the shot. Oh, blistering! Absolutely blistering by Marmoush. That gave Ramsdale no chance, and Manchester City now have daylight. Newcastle United 1, Manchester City 3, and that record run away from Wembley in the FA Cup may well be continuing.
Well, talk about sweeping it into that far post. That's exactly what he's gone and done, but this time from a much more difficult angle, showing Savinho how to do it. Just on the edge of the box, he takes his right foot, comes right across it, flies into that far side netting. Beautiful finish from a player that has to wait for his opportunity, but when he does come on, or when he starts games, he invariably contributes enormously. Great talent. And even the City bench enjoying that one. Donnarumma along with Aït-Nouri, Cherki all flew down in front of us to join the celebrations. And Pep looks to be in a better mood. He also gave a cuddle to some of his staff, so hopefully he's forgotten some of his other earlier disappointment.
But one touch and then boom, off the right foot, and it was always going away from Ramsdale. But it was the ferocity of the strike, wasn't it?
Incredible, just flew in from our angle. Ramsdale had no chance. You know, you see in the replays, they slow it down. It takes away from how good a strike it actually was.
Newcastle United now have got a very tall order. 66 minutes played. And facing defeat, which would mean that there'll be no domestic honours this season. And only the Champions League left to play for, where they have Barcelona lying in wait for a mouth-watering game on Tuesday night. But Manchester City, in fact, when I arrived at St James's Park today, there was a rumour doing the around that Haaland hadn't travelled. Here is Doku into the area. They're threatening more goals. Doku across the face of goal from the left-hand side, and then a Newcastle official said might not be a good thing that he hasn't travelled if you look at his record. So indeed, I did. And hasn't scored in his last 9 games against Newcastle, but without him they are doing more than fine, mighty fine.
Absolutely, and I'm sure nobody is more disappointed he's not travelled than Haaland. If he's just trying to recover fully from, we know he had a knock of some kind that he was trying to nurture. Yes, we've seen him since, but with the games that City still have to come before the international window at the end of the month, I'm sure he was just given some extra time, but he would have wanted to put that record straight. So I'm sure he's disappointed, but he'll be delighted that his team are looking likely they're going to send themselves into the next round.
More FA Cup action tomorrow. Fulham against Southampton is a 12 o'clock kick-off. That'll be live on Sports Extra 2, a streaming service available through the BBC Sounds app. Fulham against Southampton. We'll have commentary on 5 Live from Vale Park at 1:30. Port Vale against Sunderland. And then we move on to Ellen Road for Leeds United against Norwich City. And then on Monday night we'll have commentary of West Ham against Brentford. But with 5 Champions League games to follow that, I think I work it out, it's now 27 games that will have brought you over 9 successive days and nights of football here on 5 Live. Hall bursts forward, right hand side, can't beat Ake. And ever since that last, 10-15 minutes of the first half, where Manchester City just stepped it up, they've been the better team. They've been the much better team for most of this game beyond those early stages, and Newcastle are still in it though. Brilliant ball there from Tonali, long diagonal into this right-hand side. Lewis Hall chasing it down, probably disappointed that he couldn't do more with the ball into the box, but an opportunity to send it in now with a long throw. It is going to be Lewis Hall to take it. Flat throw comes in, headed away by Ake. High up in the gods are the celebrating Manchester City supporters as they lead by 3-1. Willock now right hand side, but Willock tries to deliver the cross on the right, blocked by Ake. O'Reilly feeds it now towards Marmoush. Marmoush with a twisting Tonali, and then back with Doku in field. They are really playing well, Manchester City.
Well, that was excellent, because 3 Newcastle players trying to just suffocate Manchester City. Doku with a clever little ball that breaks all the pressure. When you've committed 3 players to one area, invariably there's an overload for City somewhere else to find it, and away they are down the other side and into the final third.
Nunes makes a run off the ball, it goes out for a goal kick. Full time now in the Scottish Cup quarter-final, and what a night for Dunfermline. Kenny Crawford.
Indeed, Ian. Dunfermline Athletic 3, Aberdeen 0. The Scottish Cup holders go out with a whimper, if that, dominated by Dunfermline from the division below, but the Pars look like the Premiership outfit. Matty Todd opening the scoring, Bristol City loanee Ollie Thomas bagging a brace. Neil Lennon's men ease into the Scottish Cup semis, deservedly so. Dunfermline 3, Aberdeen 0.
Here Newcastle United 1, Manchester City 3, bearing in mind that Newcastle scored 3 goals against Bournemouth in round 3. They beat Aston Villa in the next round at Villa Park 3-1, but they're now going to have to find 2 goals, and to do something that they haven't done since 1961, which is score 3 goals in rounds 3, 4 and 5. The last time they did that, when they reached the quarter-finals in 61, was under Charlie Mitten, as referee Sam Barrett has stopped play, and our eyes are drawn. When the ball has ended up towards our right, we're looking now to our left to Nico O'Reilly.
Yeah, and it was just as Ramsdale's gone to play the pass out to Thiaw, who was in sort of right back position. His follow through as O'Reilly's come flying in, he slid to try and intercept the pass, which he misses, and he just catches the follow through. The studs of Ramsdale just caught him. Skiffed him. Is skiffed a Scottish word? Who knows? Just caught him in the face ever so slightly.
Well, if you don't know, I definitely don't know. I will bow to your greater knowledge. Incidentally, that third goal for Manchester City's brought up a century of goals now in their 45th game this season, and Newcastle United, in their desperate bid to keep their domestic season alive, are going to bring on Anthony Gordon with just over 18 minutes remaining, and Voltemada is going to be the player who's going to be coming off. So Newcastle United trailing 3-1 to Manchester City. Manchester City, who've reached at least the semi-finals in each of the last 7 seasons. 2018. So they've in that period they've won it twice. They've been runners-up twice in that time. But what a lineup we've already got with Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester City as it currently stands ahead of Monday night's draw, which you'll hear on BBC Radio 5 Live, as well as the Champions League next week to look forward to. We've got the Cheltenham Festival as well, 1 o'clock on Sports Extra for the first day on Tuesday, repeated for days 2 and 3, Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, the Gold Cup day, will be live from the course with Mark Chapman from 1 o'clock on 5 Live. And just when you think that you're 3-1 down, are Manchester City going to take it easy? No, they're not. They're going to bring on very much in form Antoine Semenyo.
Another great addition. He's come in straight into the team, Semenyo. He'll enjoy getting a run out tonight. Sometimes you know when it's a match day, yes, you're rested, there's a lot of games to be played, but sometimes just getting 15-20 minutes is enough to just keep that sharpness, keep the fire in the belly, just keep you in the rhythm. Marmoush, of course, making way. He's had an excellent 75 minutes or so.
And I think you might well have just shared a joke with a smiling Pep Guardiola, because he could have been on that. Well, he was on a hat-trick with his 2 goals, and he's all smiles now is Pep Guardiola. Newcastle 1, Manchester City 3, 16 minutes remaining. And when you look at a game, on the balance of what we're seeing, Newcastle at this stage don't look like they're going to get back into it, Rachel.
They don't, but I just think it's going to take one moment, and I think there's enough time, and Newcastle have to keep believing that. You have to keep probing. The one thing they can't do, though, is afford to give Manchester City any opportunity. And that's always really hard to do when you're trying to get a goal yourself to get back in the game.
Yeah. The 199th meeting between the two, and Manchester City's 100th visit to St James's Park is going to end in what will be their 26th victory here in this particular part of the northeast. Newcastle, with Joe Linton and Tonali just having an exchange of friendly words midway through their own half, but all the noise is emanating from the gods at the top of the Leazes End away towards our left-hand side.
That's probably something that Newcastle will benefit from. Just give the fans a little something to get them making that noise again.
Hall falls forward, no foul, says the referee Sam Barrett, in that challenge from Nico O'Reilly. Instead it'll be a Manchester City throw, which Ake is in no real hurry to take.
I thought that was a foul as well, to be honest. He just get clipped as he went by Ake on the touchline.
O'Reilly with a flick on, strikes the body of Semenyo. Tonali back then to Chow on the halfway line. If Newcastle United could get a goal back, to set up an interesting finale, but Manchester City have a vice-like grip on this game, leading 3-1, and Pep Guardiola is looking for more changes. However, that ball has been hoisted forward and Trafford had to react very quickly, and he improvised as well outside of his area to head it away as three Newcastle players race towards him. Tonali's early ball, can Newcastle finish with a flourish? Gordon on the left-hand side, Burn on the overlap not utilised, almost level the area. Gordon a substitute, comes in field to Joe Linton, back with Tonali. Here is Tonali, Chow. Manchester City have got everybody back behind the ball, still working very, very hard. And now it is with Botman. The Manchester City supporters taunting the Newcastle fans. Where's your famous atmosphere? As Willock tries to spin away from Núñez on that far side, level the area, but Núñez is back in front of him, goal side. In comes the cross, Barnes waits. That Barnes goal now seems an awfully long time ago, doesn't it?
It does. He did really well though in that instance. He's now switched to his right hand side and the ball comes in, it's a looping ball. It favours the defender Nathan Ake, who of course is good in the air, but Barnes well to compete, and because he competes it means all Ake can do is just flick it beyond and out for a corner. It's a good outcome for Newcastle, get the players forward.
Well, it is a corner kick on this near side the right in front of the Gallagate end, and we've got about 13 minutes remaining of normal time here on 5 Live, and Manchester City lead Newcastle 3-1. Hall to take it, headed away by O'Reilly, headed further clear by Núñez. Doku can't take it with him, helped out by Gonzalez, barged over. Two Brazilians coming together, and Joe Linton is going to get the yellow card here from Sam Barrett for that foul on Savinho.
Well, the Newcastle fans aren't happy with that, and I think primarily because earlier on in the game there was a couple of fouls that the referee either ignored or didn't really give any other consequence for, other than giving a foul, and Joe Linton's first one since he came on, but that's a cynical foul. He just uses his body and stops the attack for Manchester City, who off that corner were looking like they were going to go forward. Body soaring into the Newcastle half.
I think that might be the first player to be booked tonight, but it's not the first yellow card after they were brandished in the direction of Kolo Touré and Pep Guardiola. But Savinho's actually stayed down as Phil Foden is going to be coming on, and with this stoppage in play, Semenyo's just been beckoned over by Pep Guardiola to give some final instructions. Even now there's still no let-up from Pep Guardiola. He's now got hold of Nico O'Reilly, who's been impressive, whether he's been playing as a midfielder or as a left-back this season for Manchester City. And this is a welcome sight that I'm sure that Thomas Tuchel watching on. Tino Livramento, who's missed the last 15 matches, is going to get a run out as well. They've missed him with a hamstring injury. So good news to give him a little bit of minutes as he eases his way back into the first team picture.
Absolutely good to see him back. I think when he plays, Newcastle have just a little bit extra intensity going forward down this right hand side. Trippier has been very solid in the games he's played, but I think it's definitely part of the transition of the future of Newcastle that Livramento will lock in that right back position if he can stay fit. It's just brilliant, he's back.
Phil Foden has come on for Jeremy Doku, and Savinho, who got the equaliser in the first half, has been replaced by Ryan Cherki, and then Lewis Hall is the player to make way for Tino Livramento, who makes his return after that absence. Been out since January, Tino Livramento, so he comes on for the last 11 minutes, but Manchester City still lead Newcastle by 3-1. Stephen Nolan is next up on 5 Live at 10, and then we've got all that FA Cup action in the 5th round to look forward to tomorrow and Monday night as well, let's not forget. Also, in fact, I mentioned the Cheltenham Festival starting on Tuesday. On Sports Extra tomorrow from 1 o'clock, India-New Zealand in the T20 World Cup cricket final. So a choice of listening tomorrow with the various sports for this busy weekend. And it's as far as Eddie Howe's concerned, it's that particular sinking feeling. He's only won 2 of his previous 24 games against Manchester City. They've been both here at St James's Park. He might well have dreamt about a victory when they took the lead. But Manchester City have reasserted themselves and now have a 2-goal cushion with under 10 minutes remaining. 3-1.
It's a long time since we've seen this situation. We've just got a free kick for Newcastle just inside their own half, and Ramsdale's come up, and just like we saw earlier in the game, this was a situation that caused Manchester City some issues. He's going to just send this one forward towards the box.
Ramsdale goes long with a free kick. I thought Byrne was clearly being held by Husinov, wasn't he? Thought he was going to take him for a Saturday night dance.
It looked that way. A very nice cuddle in the middle of the pitch, but I don't think that's allowed within the rules.
No, Joe Linton down to Livramento. Not many Newcastle supporters. They'll be a little bit like your mum who couldn't get the ticket at East End Park. They won't be in the mood for dancing tonight.
No, it'll be subdued in Newcastle later on if it stays like this, potentially.
Aberdeen, the holders, are out of the Scottish Cup, losing 3-0 to Dunfermline, and Newcastle heading out of the FA Cup as well. They were knocked out by Manchester City in the League Cup semi-finals, and just like Wimbledon in 87-88 and Arsenal 20 years later, Newcastle facing elimination from both cup competitions by the same opposition in the same season. Because Manchester City, whilst you think of the chances that they created in the first half, Newcastle, certainly the opening 20 minutes, the only effort I've really jotted down in this second period was that comfortable save for Trafford from Voltemada.
Yeah, and there was the other one as well in this half when it fell to Willock, and he should have done better and sent over the bar. And yeah, they're probably both half chances in the grand scheme of it, aren't they?
This is Cherki now running forward on that right-hand side. Cherki passes the ball towards Núñez, the only player to keep his place in the starting 11 from the team that drew 2-2 against Nottingham Forest. Pep Guardiola saying it was never his intention. Visser catching Husinov, that'll be a free kick. Never his intention to play Haaland. He was always clearly being rested with that trip to Madrid in midweek. You'll hear that live on Wednesday night on 5 Live, but 8 minutes remaining. It's just a question now of Manchester City navigating their way through these closing minutes.
Exactly that, and it's a situation that they've been in many times. I'm sure it's something that they all feel comfortable with, and the onus is on Newcastle. Can they ask questions at the right time? They've had slightly more of the ball probably since it turned 3-1. Still not managed to put City under any real pressure.
Here is Ake. A number of these Manchester City players getting a start for the first time in a number of weeks. Ake's last start was against Newcastle in the League Cup second leg semi-final. We've talked about Doku and Savinho as well. Just an opportunity just to keep players fresh as the running for the title race, and still burning on all 4 fronts. Manchester City, the League Cup final to look forward to later this month. You'll hear that on 5 Live against Arsenal at Wembley. Advancing in the FA Cup with Semenyo advancing down this left touchline and getting a throw. And time desperately running out for Newcastle United.
Indeed, he was marshalled well there by Livramento, but these are scenarios that just wind the clock down. Semenyo just driving down the line, has that safety net of knowing worst case probably they get a throw in, which they do, and then they just keep the ball, recycle it. Here they go round the right hand side now.
Here is Stones. He'll be pleased to get a full 90 minutes under his belt. Passes the ball out towards Cherki. Cherki looking to go on past Dan Burn, falls to the floor, no foul. Botman to clear deep inside his own half, and it's going to go straight towards Husanov, who's got the ability just to puff out his chest, and he chests the ball forward, and Manchester City are back in possession.
There is sort of a sense building that Newcastle feel a little defeated, in the sense of that the fans are a little quiet. There will be some optimism remaining, but there's not a lot of noise, and Man City doing a really good job of just nullifying anything that would potentially create any of that atmosphere to just limit what Newcastle can really do in the circumstances.
I think that's a reflection of how much Manchester City have controlled the game, that they've not allowed, and Eddie Howe actually talked about it, that they need the supporters in the game, but in this second half they've not had that catalyst to feed off, have they, the fans?
No, they haven't, but it's a little bit give or take. You know, you've got to try and just, even if it's little moments, can someone put in a big tackle that gets the fans going, or, you know, sometimes even a foul. I wouldn't say one of those in the corner and Joe Linton and Semenyo, but those sorts of moments can still be moments that can change the momentum, and I just feel, yeah, a combination of Manchester City controlling it, but also just a little bit maybe of awareness and intelligence from Newcastle. I think they could have probably leveraged a few situations in their favour. Conceding right after half-time potentially was a little bit of a sucker punch.
Well, that was a foul, Joe Linton on Semenyo, down by the corner flag, as Manchester City leading 3-1 are playing from right to left. But Rachel talks about that air of resignation inside the stadium of St James's Park, and you can just see the supporters walking down the gangways towards the exits in that Leazy's End as we watch this free kick coming in from Reinders. Byrne heads it away in front of his own goalkeeper Ramsdale, headed back by Manchester City. And then Cherki has a shot, that was blocked. Might have a second opportunity, tries to work his way in, walk his way in, he's still going. The shot in the end does come in from behind him from Ake, but it was just a crowd of bodies and it's gone behind for a corner kick.
His feet are unbelievable. It's like the ball is quite literally glued to his foot. He just wanders into the box, drags over the top, then pass one, pass two, pass three. Sort of just his momentum keeps it at the ball of his feet. Quite remarkable, really.
Almost as if he was magnetic, wasn't it? The way it was incredible. Just stuck to his foot. Another corner kick then to come in on this near side. Swung into a crowded area. Byrne again is there to use his aerial presence to head it away, but again it only is partially cleared, only as far as Foden to Reinders. Back with Cherki, now towards Nunes. 3 minutes remaining of normal time here on 5 Live, and then Gonzalez goes all the way back to James Trafford, and Trafford can clear downfield. O'Reilly has stayed forward, and then what will go through to Ramsdale. But time is not definitely on Newcastle's side. It was a dramatic finish against Manchester United. It's going to have to even better that if they're to score 2 goals in the next 2.5 minutes plus stoppage time here, as they trail by 3-1. Gordon running forward, and even since the substitutions have come onto the field of play, the players such as the substitutions that have been made for Gordon and Joe Linton, Newcastle United, it hasn't made the impact, has it?
No, it hasn't. And after that triple change they conceded not too long after that, and that's almost worst case scenario in that situation, because you made the change at 2-1 to think you can switch that momentum, and then it does the opposite when you concede so immediately.
And that was a foul given away by Cherki on Willock, just the left corner of the penalty area. Well, bearing in mind they've created nothing in open play in this second half, with a defiant chant of Eddie Howe's black and white army that is sweeping around the Gallowgate end, where the Newcastle supporters are housed, and that Newcastle are attacking that end. I wonder what they can conjure up from a set piece.
Well, this is a moment that could lead to something dangerous, and this would be the time to get at least one back if you want to make the last few minutes an exciting finish.
Tonali and Gordon are the two in conversation just behind this free kick, left corner of the area. Manchester City have got everybody back. They've got two in the wall. James Trafford bouncing up and down on his goal line, all in green. It will be Tonali who fires it in low, comes back towards the Italian, passes the ball back to Gordon 30 yards out. He floats the ball forward, and it's right down the throat of Trafford. And he's told to throw it out towards Semenyo. And he's then visibly applauded by, and the thumbs up too, by an animated Pep Guardiola. And Manchester City are back inside Newcastle's half, and once again in control, as my eyes further are drawn to more Newcastle supporters leaving.
Yeah, potentially off the back of that free kick, because Tonali drills it low, which you can see what he's trying to do, trying to create chaos. Can go anywhere really, go straight back out to him, and then Gordon just sends it straight into the hands of Trafford, and that is the sort of delivery that does frustrate certainly the players that have gone up for a set piece, and understandably the fans too, because it's just immediate reprieve for City, and it really was it was at no point going to ever get near a Newcastle player.
Wiss has just been shown a yellow card for a trip. We're into 5 minutes stoppage time here on BBC Radio 5 Live, where Newcastle United took the lead, but Manchester City have come from behind and lead by 3-1. And they're going to extend their unbeaten run to 11 games in all competitions since they lost away to Bodo Glimt in the Champions League. They might have lost their 6-match winning run against Forest in midweek, but they're back to winning ways here tonight. There will be a reaction in the 5 Live Football Daily Pod. And don't forget highlights of all of the FA Cup 5th round match of the day tomorrow night at 10:30 on BBC One, as Semenyo rolls away from Livramento into the penalty area, crosses across the face of goal. Cherki, far side the right, keeps the ball in play. They're queuing up for it. Cherki though passes the ball back, and then Reinders has skied it. Reinders right-footed, couldn't keep it down over the crossbar. Goal kick, 3-1 City.
Yeah, he's had a few chances tonight, hasn't he, Reinders? And just a couple of miscues there, and that being another one, just gets right underneath it. Cherki does really well just to be patient, as you can imagine. Right on the touchline, just puts his foot in the ball, draws the defender in. A poor finish, really.
If you're a Chelsea fan, winding your way back from Wrexham back to West London or home, wherever you reside, then don't go anywhere between now and 10, because before we hand to Stephen Nolan at 10 o'clock, we'll be hearing from your manager, Liam Rosenior, after twice coming from behind from a very spirited Phil Parkinson's Wrexham side, who that sending off of George Dobson forcing Chelsea into extra time, but Chelsea in the end going through by 4-2. Arsenal earlier had a bit of a scare at Mansfield Town, but they went through 2-1 to join Liverpool, who beat Wolves last night by 3-0. Manchester City will make up one half of the quarter-final lineup in the FA Cup. The draw to be made on Monday evening. Who, out of Port Vale, Sunderland, Fulham, Southampton, Leeds, Norwich City and West Ham United, Brentford, will join them. Eddie Howe said this was the worst possible draw. He'll be fed up at the sight of Manchester City, a 4th meeting in 53 days and a 4th defeat in 53 days.
It's a difficult tie, isn't it? I mean, Manchester City are so good, and even we spoke about at the start of the game, the number of changes, and it really doesn't weaken them at all. Yes, the first 20 minutes Newcastle had the better of the game, but then their players get into their stride. So difficult to contain them.
Foden looking for a cutback left-hand side towards Semenyo. Haaland not involved, but you think about the fact that Pep Guardiola has been able just to give a little bit of a run out to Foden and to Semenyo and to Cherki to keep them fresh for that trip to Real Madrid on Wednesday night. Tottenham Hotspur will be out in the Spanish capital as well. Commentary of that will be on Sports Extra on Tuesday evening. A reminder that we start a little earlier for 5 Live Sport, both Tuesday and Wednesday, with those early games. Galatasaray Liverpool to be followed by Newcastle Barcelona, by Leverkusen Arsenal 24 hours later at 5:45, and then in the Bernabeu of Real Madrid Manchester City from 8 o'clock. But in stoppage time here, Manchester City are advancing.
They've been very good. It's felt quite a complete performance. Even just talking about letting other players play, you know, Kuznov and Stones as well, Ake at left back. You never know in the run of games that they've got when you might pick up a little niggle somewhere, to give those players the best part of 90 minutes across the board. It allows them to have the appropriate preparation. This has been a high intensity game. It's a demanding ask to go and play in a fixture like this, a fellow Premier League side.
Well, they're looking for a fourth goal. Here is Cherki, right hand side of the penalty area, passes the ball back towards John Stones. Only once before have these two sides met 5 times in a season. That was 94-95, 3 draws and a win each. But the 5 meetings this season have been extremely lopsided in favour of Manchester City. And Pep Guardiola looks extremely content with the way that his side had performed. Because the way that Newcastle started, this was a test for Manchester City.
It was a test, and they could have certainly been more than just the 1 goal behind when Harvey Barnes got it in the 18th minute. A real positive start. They were on the front foot. They did ask a lot of questions, that Manchester City backline, but they just couldn't maintain that pressure. And the quality of City is shown through.
It certainly has, and indeed there is the full-time whistle. There's a shake of the hand from Pep Guardiola towards the 4th official, and then a warmer embrace with Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall, as he then puts a consoling arm around the shoulder of Kieran Trippier, and he makes his way out onto the pitch to acknowledge his Manchester City players, because they've come from behind and they've beaten Newcastle United by 3-1, and that was a deserved win for Manchester City.
It absolutely was, and it felt for some, you know, they maybe were only in 3rd or 4th gear. I thought Gonzalez, wouldn't speak too much about him, I thought he came on to an excellent game. He just kept things going, orchestrated a lot, was very efficient at those clearances that Newcastle started to make when he got tired, and he was just always there to collect that second phase and restart the attack and build that relentless pressure that in the end just became too much for Newcastle. Some real top performances in the final third. Marmoush will get a lot of praise, as he deserves. Savinho, another performer that got a lot of joy down the right hand side. A good win for City in a game that I'm sure they also felt was a tough draw.
It's incredible, isn't it, this run that they've had. I know they were losing finalists in 24 against Manchester United and then 12 months later against Crystal Palace. But Manchester City now have won 19 of their last 21 ties in the FA Cup.
It's remarkable, really, in a competition where so many of the top clubs that we see in the Premier League, year after year, different teams, but somebody will stumble at different stages. And for City to be so dominant and relentless and just very typically make their way to Wembley year on year, as well as maintain the standard across the Champions League, the Premier League, the League Cup. Again, they've got that to look forward to before international break too in this run of games. It really is an incredible feat, and it's difficult to find words for a team that has won so many things and continues to just look to be such a dominant force.
Pep Guardiola takes his Manchester City players across to acknowledge the strong travelling support high up away towards our left. Newcastle United took the lead through Harvey Barnes after 18 minutes. The ball bouncing off the shins of Savinho to equalise 7 minutes before half-time. Reinders easily could have made it 2-1, but Manchester City by that point were in the groove, and they scored early in the second half through Marmoush and March, and then with a blistering third, he got that increased their lead after 65 minutes in a second half where Newcastle United really were very rarely in this FA Cup contest. Well, earlier tonight it finished Wrexham 2, Chelsea 4 after extra time. Chelsea twice coming from behind to book their place in the FA Cup quarter-finals, and the Chelsea manager Liam Rosenior has been speaking to Gary Flintoff.
Well, Liam, I knew you came here today. You knew it would be difficult, but How did that sort of unfold from your perspective?
That was a proper FA Cup tie. I think for the neutral, it was probably a classic. For Wrexham were magnificent. We knew they would be. They've got a really good spirit, really good energy about them, and Phil's doing a great job. We should have put the game to bed when they went down to 10 men, but their spirit kept them in the game. But in the FA Cup, it's about getting through. We're in the hat, and we now can focus on a big game on Wednesday.
I just wonder, how important was that equaliser just before half-time?
Yeah, times of goals are really important. It was actually, the space was there, we didn't utilise it. Liam did really, really well, turns, and then we scored a very good goal. But Wrexham just kept coming back. It was probably a great game for the neutral today. Both sides played some good stuff at times. We can be better in moments, but a lot of players coming back from injury, a lot of players who needed the minutes, and we're through to the next round.
I just wonder, was there any point this evening where you were thinking, maybe 9 changes was too many?
No, I trust my squad. We've got good players on the pitch. Whether you put the team that regularly plays in the Premier League or you make changes, these games are so difficult. You know, not just before today, I watched Mansfield against Arsenal, how well Mansfield plays. This is why everybody loves the FA Cup. All of these games are so difficult because the teams are so motivated, they're so good, and Wrexham showed exactly why they're pushing to make the Premier League.
And I suppose on the flip side, today, we've seen you have options in this squad, numerous options in terms of all the football you're about to play over the next 2 months.
That's why you have to utilise the squad. Romeo Lavia, that's his first 60-65 minutes in months. The same for Dario Asugo. We had players who needed the minutes so that they were fresh and sharp for the games to come. And you have to wear that sometimes and make strong decisions. So I'm just delighted that we got through, hopefully with no injuries, because we're going to need everyone for the running.
They certainly will, and after making those 9 changes, that certainly sets Chelsea up for their trip to Paris Saint-Germain away on Wednesday in the Champions League. So Chelsea through. Disappointment, however, for Wrexham. Here's their manager, Phil Parkinson.
We have gone toe-to-toe with a really good team, and we really did. You know, we looked like we could cope in the company of the power, you know, the extra technical ability. Yeah, so we've got to be happy. We've come up against some good players, and I think Sam Smith, I said to him, you know, your comparison to Delap, £60 million player, you know, people, you know, will be saying, well, you know, that's a close call watching that tonight. I'm not, you know, bigging Sam up too much, but he was immense.
And in some ways, because you've got so many big games to come, many will be televised, many will be under the lights, do you use this from a coaching point of view, maybe mentally as much as physically, to say to your players, you've got to produce this time and time again to get to where you want to go?
Yeah, I think we did the presentation to the lads yesterday about recent performances and what we needed to bring, what we've been doing well and what we needed to bring to the table tonight, and when we did it, and yeah, it's more of the same.
So our thanks to Rachel Corsie here at St James's Park as Manchester City beat Newcastle 3-1. Chelsea are through, Arsenal are through, and Liverpool went through last night. Tomorrow on 5 Live Sport with Steve Crossman, we are on air from midday. There'll be commentary of Port Vale against Sunderland at 1:30. Fulham Southampton will be on at Sports Extra at 5 to 12. And then Leeds Norwich is our next FA Cup commentary at 4:30. We finish off the FA Cup 5th round on Monday night, West Ham United against Brentford. Rangers Celtic in the Scottish Cup quarter-final gets underway at 1. Tonight, Dunfermline have knocked out the holders Aberdeen by 3-0, but there'll be commentary of that Old Firm game at Ibrox on Sports Extra 3. Stephen Nolan is next here on 5 Live after the latest news with Erica Witherington.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Iran's continued to fire missiles and drones at neighbouring countries, despite the Iranian president promising this morning the attacks would stop. Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates all say they've been targeted. This evening, state media in Iran say American and Israeli strikes hit an oil depot in Tehran. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the strikes will continue with full force, and Israel has a systematic plan to destroy the Iranian regime.
Revolutionary Guards operatives, those who oppress the Iranian people in the streets. I say only this to you. You are also in our sights. Anyone who lays down their weapon will not be harmed. Anyone who does not, his blood is on his own head.
President Trump's criticised the UK government again for refusing to support the initial airstrikes on Iran. In a post on social media, he said Britain was now thinking about sending its aircraft carriers to the Middle East, but they were no longer needed. He said, "We don't need people that join wars after we've already won." Other news now, and the Soham murderer Ian Huntley has died after being attacked in prison last week. He was serving a life sentence for killing Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, who were both 10, in Cambridgeshire in 2002. Police are investigating what happened to him at HMP Frankland in County Durham. The King will tell the Commonwealth that by working together, member countries can make sure the institution remains a force for good. Buckingham Palace has released details of his message ahead of Commonwealth Day on Monday. And in the Six Nations, England have been beaten by Italy for the first time ever. Steve Borthwick's team lost 23-18 in Rome. That's their third defeat in 4 matches. The former England player Matt Dawson was at the game.
I'm really disappointed with the way that England have finished that. They were in control, 8 points up, 20 minutes to go, 15 against 14. No England side loses that game. The tactics were so bad in that last 20 minutes. And then one moment of brilliance from Italy, and my heart is bleeding.
Earlier, Scotland beat France by 50 points to 40 to keep alive their hopes of winning the title.
The Champions League on BBC Radio 5 Live.
On Tuesday at 5:45, it's Galatasaray versus Liverpool. And at 8, Newcastle host Barcelona at St James's Park. Then on Wednesday at 5:45, Arsenal travel to Leverkusen. And at 8, it's Real Madrid versus Manchester City.
Into Haaland, gets ahead on it, here's the only goal!
5 Live Sports.
The Champions League.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
The stories that matter.
I can't say much. I can't do much about it. So I'm stuck.
The voices that challenge.
I think it makes us more comfortable to put all our judgment on one particular person.
I would like to know what your solution would be.
Across the UK.
On 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
What I'm saying is there's got to be some sort of cut-off point.
You're blind like Stephen, what's been going on in this country?
I don't really understand their motive exactly.
It's beyond staggering. Where do you begin?
This is the voice of the UK.
This is Stephen Nolan.
Well, Trump launches a harsh set of words to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. We will remember, he says, 1 week into the Iran conflict, and on social media, President Trump has accused the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, of seeking to join wars after we've already won, and says, quote, "We don't need UK aircraft carriers." It's after HMS Prince of Wales was placed on advanced readiness to sail from Portsmouth. We've also had a surprise message from the Iranian president.
I deem it necessary to apologize on my own behalf to the neighboring countries that were attacked. The armed forces were instructed that they must not attack neighboring countries or launch missiles towards them unless we come under attack from those states.
Despite that apology, Iran continues to attack Gulf states. The Iranian foreign minister says Trump killed the chance to de-escalate. Qatar, the UAE and Saudi Arabia report missiles and drone attacks. Lee from Carlisle heard explosions from his hotel in Dubai.
Just a huge explosion. There was 2. Literally shook the windows. It was the loudest thing since we've been here, really.
To make sense of today's developments, the BBC's chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, joins us next. And later, families of failed asylum seekers will be offered up to £40,000 to leave the UK under a trial scheme. Here's the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood.
For too long, families who have failed their claims have known that we are not enforcing our rules. It is now on the parents in these families who can safely return to the home they came from to do the right thing by accepting an incentive payment rather than face an enforced return.
Here's how to get in touch tonight.
Call Stephen on 08085 909 693. Text 85058. Text will be charged at your standard message rates. Visit bbc.co.uk/5live terms for our terms of use and privacy notice.
This is Stephen Nolan.
On 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
And we're taking your calls tonight, 08085 909 693. You just heard the number, and we'll get your initial reaction to this news just breaking of President Trump telling the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, we do not need people that join wars after we've already won. That special relationship that Britain and America have enjoyed with each other for many years. We will remember Trump rebukes Starmer. 08085 909 693. So much has happened in the last week. The US Israeli bombardment of Iran began, and there is little sign of the conflict ending soon, despite a surprise apology today from the Iranian president.
I deem it necessary to apologize on my own behalf to the neighboring countries that were attacked. Our armed forces, the heroes who risked their lives to defend the country's territorial integrity, had acted on their own discretion in the absence of their commanders, taking whatever action was necessary and defending the country with pride and strength. We do not intend to invade neighboring countries. As I have said repeatedly, they are our brothers. We need to join hands with these dear ones in the region to establish peace and calm.
However, Iran launched a fresh wave of missiles and drones at a number of Arab countries. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and the UAE. A Dubai resident has been killed by falling shrapnel. Iran's foreign minister said Iran's openness to de-escalation has been almost immediately killed by Donald Trump. After hearing the apology, President Trump had posted on social media, Iran has surrendered to its Middle East neighbours, and he vowed to hit Iran very hard. Just a few hours ago, the bodies of the 6 US soldiers killed in the conflict were returned to the United States. President Trump was at the US Air Force Base in Delaware to meet their families. Donald Trump has just posted on his Truth Social messaging platform. He says the following: the United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember, Trump says. We don't need people that join wars after we've already won, he said. Meanwhile, the BBC has learned that a UK aircraft carrier, HMS Prince of Wales, has been placed on advanced readiness. The Iranian ambassador in London has warned the UK to be very careful about becoming further involved in the war. He's been speaking to Laura Kunsberg.
You've been lashing out right across the Middle East to all sorts of countries, endangering civilians across a whole region.
We are defending ourselves. This is a very important. Who started this war? American side and Israeli regime.
But you say the root causes
but they are using their bases, military bases from the Persian Gulf countries. Okay, that would be a very important, legitimate target for us. We do not want to go to attack anybody. No, we are very delicate. We are very, very careful regarding for our activities, and as well as we do expect for the other people, including British government, to be very delicate.
You can hear the whole of that interview on Sunday with Laura Kunsberg tomorrow at 9 a.m. I've been speaking tonight with our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, and I asked her for her take on the events of the past week.
There's no doubt that when the world's mightiest army, the United States, teams up with an army, a military like Israel and its intelligence agencies, that they are scoring operational military successes in Iran. Their latest assessment was that they had destroyed about 60% of Iran's missile capability, that they had almost near control of the skies, and that they had assassinated dozens of Iranian political leaders and security commanders, including, of course, the top cleric, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as well as in those first salvos on that Saturday morning, the top 4 security chiefs, who, of course, are being replaced every time Israel and Iran kill more. And despite earlier in the day, the president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, issuing an extraordinary apology to neighbouring Gulf Arab states for the attacks, he was quickly rebuked by hardliners who said he shouldn't be apologizing and that Iran would continue to attack these countries which have American military bases if the American attacks originated from them. So there's a hardening of all sides. I should last mention the second front in Lebanon is also intensifying. So war intensifying on the ground and widening. Worldwide repercussions in terms of oil and what's expected to be rising food prices and prices right along the spectrum as well.
Lisa, I was confused with that strange apology, if you like, from Iran's president. Why did he apologise in the first place and then continue attacking?
In Iran's political system, Masoud Pezeshkian is part of the political layers. He is an elected president, whatever you think of the elections. He is regarded as being a relative moderate, a reformist, as they're called. And he has often taken conciliatory lines. For example, during the major protests, the wave of protests which went nationwide in Iran in January, which was put down with lethal force, with thousands, possibly tens of thousands Iranians killed, Masoud Pezeshkian apologized to Iranians, those he said had come out into the streets because of their economic grievances. He apologized for the government's shortcomings and said the government would do everything possible to try to improve their lives, at least when it comes to economic grievances. He didn't address the political grievances. And here again, he comes out and says a decision has been taken with the three-man Interim Leadership Council, and I want to apologize to you, our neighboring states, on my behalf and on behalf of Iran. And that's very, very, very much the kind of person that he is. But what it does do is that it brings out into the open what have been long-standing rifts in the clerical and security establishment. And one of the main fault lines is between those who are regarded as relative moderates or reformists and those who are hardline. And it highlights that as this war goes on, it is the hardliners, most of all in the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, who are literally calling the shots.
How much capability does Iran have in terms of their storage of weaponry to keep on going for weeks or months? Do we know? And is Russia helping them?
Well, even with all of the damage that has been done, the degrading of its military capabilities, Iran is still firing waves of rockets into Israel, although far fewer ballistic missiles and drones than before. And today, even after this apology by Masoud Pezeshkian and his line, which was repeated then more harshly by the hardliners, saying that if you don't allow your bases to be used if you don't allow your territory to be